Good evening, Westeros. It is me, your girl Susie, coming at you with another after the fire. Oh, it was a doozy. It was a big one. But before we get around to talking about it, let's go around and just say who we are and who we play in this rapidly shit show of a show. We'll go to my immediate left. We have the wonderful Donathan Fry. Hey, Don.
Hey. Yeah, I'm Don. I play Sir Oliver Ironwood, who was not in last week's episode. And I approve of everything that happened last week. That's all I'll say.
Oof. To my right, we have the fabulous Charlie Smith.
Reevaluating my relationship with Don right now. No, last week was a whole thing. This game is a trash fire in the most beautiful of ways. And just bravo to the team. This is all I have right now. But who I imagine Stress ate a lot of food during that session.
I feel like stress was just the general mood for everyone last week. Last Thursday, there was just a spike in stress levels across the globe. Below Charlie, we have the lovely Redundant UK himself, Mr. Tom.
Hi, I'm Redundant UK, Tom, and I play Alfred Wild / Flowers. And I too was not on last week's episode, but I was stressed out beyond all stress. But I too thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'm just going to skip over the middle for a second. And to the far left, we have Jason. Oh, you're muted. Good start.
So good to see here. So good to see you. So good to be here. And yeah, playing Simon on After the Fire. And just going to have a fun time discussing all of the mistakes that I've made along the way. No, it's perfectly fine. And it'll be in perpetuity. I predict this.
And all right, back to the middle. The mechanic of this mayhem himself, the instigator of the screaming last week. Sam, hi.
I'm going to put that on a business card.
Good. You should. Sam Omega Crit Web, instigator of chaos.
Yeah. Mechanic of mayhem.
Mechanic of mayhem.
It's good. Yeah. I write this and I have feelings about it.
I've just noticed in chat we have a lot of ratio Ironwood now. Frax, what? I know that's you. Frax. We will have words. But anyway, before we get into screaming at Sam for what he unleashed on poor Charlie on Thursday...
Can I say though, just sorry, really quickly, Susie, the best bit about that was Sam unleashed it, but I think Sam was more affected than a lot of us.
I think Sam didn't know what he had done. Yeah. As he sat back and watched Greg just kill, he was like, oh no. But I would just like to say a very happy birthday to Sam. And I would sing to you, but you don't need that, and that's embarrassing.
Don't. Please don't sing to me again. Not to say that you did it again, but I've had it twice now, and I'm just like, it's weird. You have to stand there for like a minute and just be like...
That sounds like a review of my karaoke. Please don't sing to me again. Please.
Oh, Charlie. But it is awkward, though, when people sing happy birthday, because you're like, what do I do with my face? Do I smile?
It's the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a restaurant, yeah, I get you. But if it's like family, I think that's like the most okay, where it's permissible.
I add a to me, so when I say happy birthday to you, I go to me, because I love birthdays.
Yeah, birthdays kick ass. Like,
but also no restaurant singing. Like that is my worst nightmare. That whole like, you know, they do it in like a Hard Rock and things like that. They like get up on the chair, they dance around you.
No.
See, my family aren't really birthday family. Like, we will give each other cards and gifts, and you know, we'll obviously acknowledge each other's birthdays, but we don't throw parties, you know, we don't have big dinners or anything. So, like, ooh, no, it's just, ooh.
Same.
Gives me the willies.
Me and my family are the same, yeah. They just, the best I hope for is they acknowledge it's my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
20 quid in a card. Yay!
Well, I get from my uncle every year.
Your uncle loves you very much.
Anyway, after this insight into our dysfunctional families, let's get on to our other dysfunctional family. I tried to think of something to say about this Thursday's episode, the hammer and anvil, but all I could just, every time I thought of things to say, they're just screaming in the back of my head that got louder and louder. So we'll just dive straight into it. Scene 1. Marzia's incredibly sad dinner at Fox Hollow. She had this whole plan. There was supposed to be Mara, Babblebrook, Alistair. Was Rob supposed to be there? You know,
it was gonna be Alistair, Mara, Lady Crane, Lana, Babblebrook, Marzia, and the babies, and Braith looking after the babies.
That guest list got incredibly sliced. Oh, actually, we should actually maybe talk about what happened the previous week, because we didn't do an after the fire for that, but just as like a quick summary of what happened, so we're all on the same page. Why Mara, Alistair, and Babblebrook are not there. So the previous week, we had oh my god, we just talked about it, but my brain has gone completely blank. Help.
So we went over to Essos and we saw Alfred get a really interesting offer, which I think we could discuss in a little bit. We also had some interesting things happen with investigating the murder that happened on Greenmont land. We had Alistair, the head PI in Operation Who Cut Out the Tongue. And then at the very end, there was a tiny battle that no one organized and only meant good things for my politicking with Tali and Peak and crew.
And it's because of that particular skirmish, which was definitely unauthorized, which was legitimately unauthorized, but thankfully ended in like no major deaths or anything like that. It was just a punch up. Because of an extremely lucky dice roll, that Mara and Alistair departed with Peak and Tali's forces to Vulture's Roost, and Sir Babblebrook was sent with the Greenmont troops to ensure that there were no other further skirmishes from Greenmont troops, and to give like a little bit of like, this is a Greenmont commander with them, you know, a little bit of respect and regulation. So Marzia has suddenly found that basically everybody around her is vanishing all at once, and she's left with the woman who grassed on her and told everybody about the baby magic, the blood magic, and her grandma, and 2 babies.
Yep. And she had this whole plan. It was going to be like a little Christmas. There were gifts picked out. It's going to be really nice. And I'm not gonna lie, I totally forgot what I was meant to give Lana, and then on the spot I was like, all right, it's gonna be a sword now, because I didn't remember what it was, because I couldn't find my notes. And it was so sad. And there was also that feeling that she knows Grammy Crane needs to leave at some point. Grammy Crane can't just live at Fox Hollow. She has a whole house at Red Lake that, while she's not in charge of, she's a fixture of. And yeah, we've been eating out of house and home, so the dinner was pretty pitiful in and of itself. And then I give the gifts to Grammy and Lana, and I roll appallingly, so they kind of low-key hate them. And it was not a good time. It was a sad, sad time.
It was like when you gave the brooch to Grammy Crane, she kind of did that whole, thanks, I'll wear it often, sort of like, you know, when your grandma buys you like a top that's horrible and you're like, yeah, I'll wear it all the time, thanks grandma.
That's getting re-gifted straight away.
Yeah, right? It's going into the Red Lake charity shop.
So originally what I was meant to give Lana, because I remembered afterwards, was a quill, a silver quill, because she was the writer in the council, but I totally forgot that's what it was. So Lana ended up with a short sword, which also kind of tied into the Greenmont mythos of sword giving anyway. Because Marzia just knows that Lana's been off since the thing, and, you know, it was terrible, and they had their little conversation in the hall, like, I know it was bad, but, you know, can we be a team, please? Can we go back to what we were doing when I was first like, Lucas is dead and I'm gonna help? Like, that was, yeah, it was a very not good dinner. It's just the worst.
It was just so sad, and like, Charlie, your little faces, Marzia was just so sad, and my heart was like, Marzia. But it was just about to get so much worse. And none of us had an idea just how bad it was going to get. And that does include Sam, I think. As the door unlocks, troops enter wearing red and black. And I'm just going to play a real little clip.
Of soldiers. Once they come to a stop halfway down the hall, the soldiers part, and standing there is a tall, broad form of Maekar Targaryen. His silver hair falling straight about his shoulders, his well-kept silvery gold beard shrouding his face. But through it you can still read a sour expression as his light purple eyes stare into yours.
Velar do Hyris. Zadridabus Dari Ixos Dahor.
My lord, Prince Maekar. End of the show.
End of the show. Maekar shows up, we out. So we were just saying backstage that we all had very different reactions. Jason was like immediately like, fuck you. Charlie's laughing to stop from crying, and I'm just like, oh no. Oh no. I also did love at the end where Jason, you like throw your shawl off with this, you're like, come on, you fuck.
My favorite bit of all that was when I'd arranged with Greg beforehand to like speak a bit of High Valyrian, because the whole thing about the court in my canon of this time is a bit like the court in England back in the day when they all spoke French. Mm-hmm. It's like he would expect everyone to speak High Valyrian, and I figured it out. And I just love how he's just like, you know, Baladaris and etc. 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 And Charlie's just like, nope.
You can legitimately see like the panic in Charlie's face, where she's like, what the fuck did he just say? I don't know. What do I do?
So I was talking to V about this after we finished Dread, and she goes, I know exactly what he said, and that was the moment I knew I'd seen too much Game of Thrones.
I caught a little bit of what he said from my Duolingo
He
lessons.
said, High Valyrian is my mother tongue, and something. It's a Daenerys speech.
Valar Dohaeris was, I believe, all men must serve. Yeah. Because Morgulis is all men must die.
Well, yeah, because it's usually in both, right? So one person, it's like when, you say assalamu alaikum to someone, they say alaikum assalam, you repeat a phrase back. So it's like Volo, Vala Morgulis, and then Volo Dohaeris. But because he's a prince, he's not going to say all men must die. He's going to say, you fucking serve me.
Yeah. And what
I do... down, bitches.
It's just that moment of terror when you step up to an unfamiliar like taqueria and they immediately start rambling off in Spanish, and it's like, oh God, no, time out. Can we just stop for a second? Oh man.
Charlie's face is me in Montreal. I'm like, bonjour, because it's just, you just politely say bonjour, and then they go in French, and I go, Oscar, parlez-vous anglais? And then they go, yeah, and then we're like, yeah. But there's that moment where you're like, the fuck?
See, my face was like, oh, this is how this is gonna go. Okay.
But good. Sam, I want to talk about this for a little bit. So when had you conspired with Greg for this?
Well, so Greg donated like 80 odd quid to the Mermaids charity drive.
Oh and shit, that's right. Yeah.
I think he put kind of jokingly in chat like guest maybe, and I was like, yeah, cool, okay, like, so I'm gonna check my Twitter messages. I'm gonna see where I reached out to him, because I think I have the impression, maybe a bit from Don too, that like he would have loved to kind of get in on the game a bit, but it was actually just kind of more tricky for him than getting our schedule together. So I really wanted him to try and get on it. Yeah, all right. So on the 19th of August at 9:40 p.m, I messaged him. Oh God, there's a link. Want to guess on After the Fire is Maekar Targaryen?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I said he's not a king during our time, but he's a prince, and he was like, absolutely, I shall order a wig immediately. And I got, no word of a lie, like a week later, I got what could be described as the dick pic of wigs, wig pictures. It was just like, oh man, I wish I'd like sent this to you, because then I wonder if you can get this up on the screen in like super duper like time. I'll message you it.
Maybe put it up on the Discord so that you know.
I'm not sharing with everyone.
Oh, I see.
I wonder if that will work.
This is an After the Fire crew exclusive.
No, it doesn't work.
Did that do a thing?
No.
Okay, this is gonna get saved. It's gonna get saved onto my desktop.
Hang on, see if I can. But so he sent you a wig equivalent of a dick pic.
Yeah, it was like he's all like, "Oh, let's look at this wig. It's beautiful and white and stuff." Because Maekar has this like long white hair.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. I should have sent it to you now. And I was just like, "That's amazing."
This is just outstanding. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna just talk amongst yourselves for a second.
Sure,
Sam,
yeah,
explain further whilst I
yeah.
make this a thing.
So then I'm like, because I knew that what I wanted to do for a little while was have Maekar go after Miria himself, in a way. So I thought, well, to also give Charlie some game, and I've always found it a little difficult to really give game to people who kind of are at their base operation.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they go off adventuring, or if they go off to a different court, or they go off and do a tourney, like you kind of know what you're about there, but just maybe it's a personal thing for me that I'm like, crops are a bit shit. Like I don't really know like what to do half the time. So it also gave Charlie some good game actually being at Fox Hollow still as well. And I didn't really like script much of it. I gave Greg like a, it says, are we live with the wig pic?
Yeah.
I'm not on, hang on. Just,
You might have missed it.
It's just stunning, isn't it?
It's just
I missed it. I missed it.
Hang on, we'll quickly go back just for those that missed it.
There it's oh my. It's just that was my first encounter with Maekar Targaryen.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Isn't it just?
And so yeah, like I said, I didn't really script like a whole ton of it. I gave him a brief of like, I was like, so I put together a bit of a brief, and I'm kind of used to doing that for like LARPs and for writing adventures. So it's like you give people their given circumstances. So it's like, where have you been? What have you been up to? How long has it taken to get here? And like, why are you here? Like, what's your objective as a character? What are you trying to do? So you know, I did that kind of stuff in writing and sent that to him as well. But then we got on the call of probably about 20 minutes before everyone else. Before we started, I was just like, right, all the things, right, change your name, guest on Zoom, and like guest on the Roll20, and like, and he's like, oh, I need to take my like Roll20 avatar image off because then they'll know it's me. And so he went to some lengths as well, but he came onto the Zoom chat straight away in costume, like had like done up his beard to be a bit more gold and silver, and I was just like, man, this is just ridiculously awesome. And so I was like, you know, honestly, like how caught up are you with the game? Like, have you seen much? And he was like, I'm going to be honest, maybe like 50%. And I was like, that's cool, man. Don't worry. Like, we all have lives. Chill out. Mm-hmm. Like, you know that Miria's like kind of been kind of kidnapped / abducted / rescued from your place. And he's like, yeah, you know, and we're trying to convey that he wasn't sure about what happened. Mm-hmm. And then just gave him the basics of like, you're here to find this ward, and this is her house. So here you are. Like your men can't find her. She's disappeared into Red Mountains. The only really obvious other thing you can do is go to her home and see if she's there. And he was like, how mean do you want me to be? And I was like, you're the fucking Prince of Summerhall. You just do what the hell you like. You do what the hell you like. I actually thought he was going to be meaner, of actually like just kind of ripping the place apart a bit. Mm-hmm. But it got very intriguey and very like between two characters. And not to fast forward or anything, but I was during both of the kind of parts of the intrigue, I was thinking like there are guards like all around here, both Greenmont and not the King's Guard, but like the Targaryen house guards. And I was like, someone's going to have some hands on some sword hilts at this point. Like, and there's always those nice bits where like either like everyone half draws a sword kind of in unison. There's kind of movie moments, or like everyone's just kind of looking at each other drawing swords. I thought about a moment like that to just punctuate the whole thing of like everyone suddenly draws swords and everyone's like hold up. But it was such like a little nuanced intrigue and so much about those two characters that I would just kind of let it happen, really.
So Greg and I had a conversation. Well, we've had multiple conversations since, and he said Maekar in the canon is represented as very short-tempered, and that's pretty much all there is to him. And that Greg wanted to find a little bit more to that and a little bit more substance. And in the situation, he is the prince, and he has control. And this is a different Maekar from the one we see in 10 years with Dunk after the trial of the Seven. I actually think that scene is really nuanced. If anyone's not read the books, the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, go and check that out. It's really cool, and you get some really interesting background story, which might add some context to Maekar. But yeah, so that was kind of Greg's goal. He didn't want to go straight in and just be, a dragon explosion all over this place. And I thought, when you have a character who has that much power, you don't have to do that. Like, that's safe when you're fighting with men and you need to get your point across. This is just a woman who has no power, really, so he didn't have to. And I think that's where this scene was terrifying on so many levels, and it's because of how Greg did it and how Maekar didn't have to raise his voice even a tiny bit.
That's the thing, though, right? Maekar, one of his huge things is intimidation, whether it's his physical intimidation, his athletic intimidation, or just his presence. And the fact that he was so quiet during the whole intrigue, he never ever raised his voice. He spoke in a very calm, measured way. That was intimidation in itself. That was terrifying. And we'll get on to the other things he does, Greg, you monster, as we discuss this scene a bit further. But just from that entrance, and I love that none of us, I mean, Don, you said you knew Greg was coming on, right?
I didn't know 100%, but I knew. I knew, and I had two guesses as to who he would be when he came in. Maekar was one of the two. So yeah, I had a really strong suspicion. That's what I'll say.
Who was the other that you suspected Greg might be?
I thought there was a possibility he could be Horatio. That Sam could bring him in as Horatio.
Boy, am I glad he wasn't.
Right?
Because I'd have just cried. But yeah, I mean, sitting there in that call, and it was just a black camera, and it said guest, and I went on to roll 20, and it just said guest, and I'm like, who are you? Who are you, guest? But I had suspicions. Greg was on my list of suspicious. But oof, boy howdy. So Maekar arrives, and immediately he's like, "Where's the kid? I wanna." She's gone. Where is she? This is her house. You know where she is, probably. Where is she? And Marzia does put up a good thing. She's like, well, she was at your fucking house and somehow she got stolen. So what did you basically? But then she starts talking about Vulture's Roost and getting word that Blackmont had taken Miria to Vulture's Roost and that she'd sent out a contingent of troops and Lord Ironwood to go get her. And I have to ask, what is the plan here? Because, as soon as he gets to Vulture's Roost, he's going to know Miria's not there. Was it just to get him out of the house and away? Or was it It
wasn't so much go fetch. It was, Blackmont is the one that did this. I don't know why you're so mad at me. I'm just trying to get her back. This is all I know. She was lying her ass off a tiny bit. But she was like, look, this is the last thing I knew was Miria was at Vulture's Roost, maybe with Blackmont. I know Blackmont is there. You want to have words with the person who stole the ward from your house? Go there. Stop yelling at me. Oh, he wasn't yelling, but it was that, stop coming at me. What's going on? Because it was almost implied that she was in some sort of conspiracy to steal Miria, maybe. And she was like, yeah, no, that's not what happened.
Oh, for sure. That was like one of the underlying questions. He never outright said it, but it was like, you know what happened. You know where she is, like.
Because he asked, how did you find out? When did you find this out? Was this then? And that. And it was very much like a murder investigation that was happening. You have that police inspector come to your door and trying to figure out and find the holes in your story.
Yeah, it's kind of like bad cop, good cop, but there was no good cop. It was just all bad cop. But like, I don't know. Then he just also like, as soon as Marcia is like, oh, Vulture's Roost, Blackmont, that's why they went. He seems to like disregard that information because he clocks the babies. And it's like he doesn't care about Miria anymore because he has a new target. And it was the second he saw those babies and Greg was like, there's babies in these rooms? I was like, oh, shit. I knew exactly what he was going to do. And, oh, what a play. What an intimidation play. What just a general all over play. Because you're not going to tell a prince, put my fucking baby down. And so he grabs Whelan and he like, balances him in his arm. And he's like, there. Like, oh.
There.
It was, I think, he saw that Marcia maybe had a little bit of bite to her, and it was all right, you know what, we'll twist this then. And picks up the baby, and it's kind of like, I'm gonna win either way, just how bad do you want to lose?
Yeah.
And the intrigue opens up with a huge status role basically, and Marcia's disposition is set to affectionate, which is an interesting challenge to play when there's an evil prince walking around with your baby. And then that gets worse.
Well, yeah. I mean, as soon as he has the baby and, he's got little Whelan, he basically, Marcia says, well, then what of Miria when she gets back? He's like, oh, you can keep her. I don't need her anymore. Because he has the baby now. Like, he had it in his mind at that point. He was walking out of there with at least one baby.
Watching it, I thought that of all of the things that Greg did to portray Maekar, I thought this was like maybe the subtlest and truest thing that he would do this. Maekar in the books, what little you get to see of him in the short stories, he's very, very caring and focused and worried about his children. He's a father, and that comes through with his character, how important his children are to him, and so the idea that he would use that as a weapon makes total sense because as a father, he understands that element. I thought that, so when Greg made that play as Maekar, I was like, oh, that's a really good Maekar move. That makes entire sense to me.
Yeah, I literally wrote in my notes, Maekar is good dad confirmed. Because he knew exactly how to hold a baby. But so as this intrigue was playing out, Charlie, what was the thought process?
So as Charlie, I've hypothesized about what the deal would be like if this happened, but the whole time I was trying to remember, what does Marcia know? What is Marcia's experience? And then being confronted with the amazing role play from Greg, it was a lot going on in my brain, and it was a lot of just spinning in the mud and like, just don't say anything really bad. Just try not to say anything really bad. Try and throw everyone else under the bus and try not to say anything really bad.
We will we'll get to the bus throwing.
We'll get under
because
the bus.
Boy, that's a bumpy ass fucking bus ride.
Yeah, but Marcia was totally caught off guard. It hadn't even crossed her mind that Maekar could be on his way. She just had a host sat on her lawn for a couple of weeks. They've just left. It's a miserable dinner. It's a classic stormy night and the terrible stranger arrives situation. But she hadn't expected it at all. She hadn't prepared, and now she's face to face with a prince, someone she would probably never have expected to meet. She's maybe been to court when she was younger and seen in the distance a Targaryen, maybe. But it was just systems overwhelm. Don't fuck this up, or everyone in this room could die. because that's the dangerous thing is, you do say the wrong thing, you're nothing. And he's walked in with, a king's guard, essentially.
So we all know Greg's an amazing role player. I think everybody here has played with him at some point, and we know he's absolute fucking beast. But Sam, did you have any idea about what you just unleashed on Charlie?
Nah.
We knew Greg would bring it, but we knew he'd bring it that hard.
No, it was a joy to watch. I kind of just wound him up and let him go. And that's a great thing sometimes as a GM. Like, I'm finding it more and more with this game. It's like I'm actually kind of planting a flag somewhere and going, this could go one of 2 or 3 ways. And I don't have to decide which way that is. We'll find that out. That's really, really, really fun. I had an inkling he might, like, because there were the 2 boys there, he might take one. But I didn't like focus him on that. I didn't direct him in any way about that either. So it was really interesting that he was just suddenly like, babies.
My baby.
My baby.
But Tom and Don, as folks who weren't there this week actively playing, because it's one thing to be in chat watching and then one thing to be like on screen watching too, because there's that whole extra sort of concentration element. How did you guys feel about what was going on?
I enjoyed watching it, and I know that Greg really loves Game of Thrones. He loves the world, so you could see how excited he was to like immerse himself in the world. It's not a lot of people haven't had the opportunity to play an RPG set in Game of Thrones. This is the setting isn't one that's widely. It's not D&D. It's not as widely popular. So you could tell he was really excited. It was really fun to watch. And I don't know that Greg understood. I don't think that Greg understood like all of the ramifications of what he was doing, how it would affect everybody else's characters. But the ramifications were huge, and that was fun to watch that and think about. Oh, what's that gonna do? What's that gonna cause? Because it felt like the setup to whatever the end game might be for our game. And I think Greg, I don't know if he knew that that's what he was doing, but that's totally what he did. As a viewer, that's what I saw.
See, I love that he didn't know. Because Prince Maycat wouldn't know. It's below him to think of the troubles of a little house. He just wants what he wants, and I love the fact that he may not have known that. So he's just like, well, I'm just going to take this, and to hell with anything else that happened. And I can tell from just watching it, I can tell you, I'm very thankful that I wasn't in the scene. That would have been incredibly awkward, Even throughout that entire scene, even where he was coming out, the high tension and everything, and I kind of pictured, well, what would Alfred do there and then if that was happening? And I still don't have an answer. I genuinely don't know. It would genuinely be just one of those spur of the moment things.
I genuinely think had Alfred been there, that scene would have been different.
In what way?
Because I think Marcia wouldn't have been alone. She wasn't alone in that Grammy Crane and Lana were there, but yeah, I think it would have been very different, and Marcia wouldn't have had that feeling, that loss. She's had so much loss, and it really almost started, well, it didn't start with Alfred, it started long before that on a battlefield far away. But in the recent losses, like Alfred, that's her best friend that she ordered out after Blackmont, after the Vultures and all of that, and he didn't come back. And that was like the start of like her personal support system just crumbling away. And when we had the interrogation of the bandit, like Alfred was there. She kind of had a handle on it, but then he came in, and then suddenly she was like, "Okay, we can do this." Topless Alfred's here. This is.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I think it would have been very different, and I think the atmosphere at the house would have been very different too. The atmosphere for the hollowed hearts in the room would have been different. They only
Yeah.
have one leader, and that's Marcia, and she didn't say anything to them really.
It feels like the house has been on like a decline
Oh yeah.
with
for
all the
sure.
men leaving and not coming back, and you know, this host showing up, being eaten out of house and home, the tensions that host is in. So the house has been going through a real rough patch, which is obviously going to make you feel weaker and then fucking Prince Maekar shows up and starts throwing his weight around, and you're not going to be in a strong position to fight back. I think though Marcia did a freaking amazing job at like holding her own against him, especially with that difference because she doesn't speak High Valyrian, so she had to speak to him in common, and he's like, "Fuck you, peasant," you know. And then she got some good jibes in there herself. She's like, "Well, you could take one of my sons, or take my sons to be warded, but how do I know they're going to be safe? You've already lost one of my kids, you know."
I did get away with that one because Greg didn't hear it. Like, he did say if I'd have heard that scene maybe would have been different. But Marcia definitely towed the line a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean, she was a mother being pushed to the edge, so you know she was doing her best to be respectful and hold her tongue, because you know if you sass a prince 9 times out of 10 you're dead, and that's no good to anybody. But being put in an incredibly stressful situation like that, you're gonna lash out a little bit. And she did though. She did get some good stuff out there.
She had a really, like, a long way to go with Maekar to get anything. She had to establish that she wasn't part of the conspiracy with Miria. She had to establish her interests in whatever the fucking hosts are doing. That's Miria, but also, you know what? Peak and Tally, they're shady. I had no idea they weren't acting under whatever. Maybe you should go and talk to Tyrell, you know, he's the leader of the Reach. Maybe go and sort him out. And she's just trying to be like, look, you're the prince. I respect that. I'm really sorry. I've offended you deeply. I know Maria's gone. I'm very aware of that. She's my daughter. I can see that you know, you care about your family. I care about my family. And it was like, it was a building book. And starting at affectionate, like, mechanically I had to bear that in mind, where she does respect this person. I didn't think of it as affectionate in a, you know, she loves him like family, but affectionate in that is the prince. That is someone that you owe respect to, that you try and do all you can for them.
Yeah.
You're not going to be happy with everything they do, especially when they pick up your son, and you can see where the implication is going with it. But, you know, you're going to do your best to oblige them and treat them well. And the thing that hit me after the game was I realized, like, that's one of the men that's kind of started this downward tilt for Greenmont. That's the guy who was the Anvil, right, at Redgrass Field. And that resulted in the death of her fiancé and would result in the death of Lucas. And it's this whole cascade that actually kind of, in a way, starts with Maekar, starts on that field. And, like, she would never have met this man, and here he is, the guy behind that crushing defeat in the beginning of all of that loss. But in her head, she blames the war. She doesn't blame him. He was doing what, you know, a prince or a king would do. And it was war. And so she's got to, you know, she's got to be respectful and do as much as she can.
Yeah, because I don't feel like Marcia is as strong one way or the other with regards to like political leanings as other members of the family might be. She's just someone trying to survive, keep her head above water, and keep her house and family safe. She's definitely, you know, she's not a loyalist, but she's not a rebel. She's just someone that's trying to live. One other thing to note from this scene, we did get confirmation that Willin is indeed a demon baby. No! Charlie said it herself. I have the evidence recorded on video.
Demon baby.
Are you playing back the tape? What's going on?
One funny thing though is on Saturday, I went to go visit my newborn baby niece, and when I cuddled her, she opened a single eye to look at me. I was like, for a second, I was like, because Willin did the same to Maekar, and I'm like, hang on, no, okay, this is just a regular ass baby, but demon baby, Willin, confirmed.
I was confirming he is the one that you all refer to as the demon baby.
I mean, say what you will, you did say yes when Sam asked, is that the demon baby?
I was in a stressful position, Susanna Grace.
And from one stressful position to another, we zoom across the mountains to Ironwood. And Mama Ironwood is in her office. She's doing some work, working a little old butt off. And Maria comes in and she's all like, "Hi, ooh, I'm really cute. Can you give me a job?" And she's like, "Why?" And she's just like, "Well," and she's like, does her little orphan Annie routine. And convinces Mama Ironwood to at least let her wash and dry the quills. Thanks, Don. Thanks. Could have been scribing letters. It could have been copying documents, but nope, we're at washing and drying the quill stage. I heard the washing the floors, Charlie. I remember that. Cleaning the windows. Thanks. I'm a fucking noblewoman. It's beneath me. That's servant work.
No, you're not. That's not what you claim to be. We'll get to that.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm just, still noble. Still noble. Shut up. But in this course of this like little mini condensed intrigue, Mama Ironwood turns to Mira and she's like, "Yo, Daira's bad fucking news. She's dangerous. Sorry what happened. That sucked and everything, but chick's bad news." And Maria, because I feel like she just makes terrible decisions and she trusts people when maybe she shouldn't trust them because they're nice to her. But she's like, "No, but she saved my life. She didn't have to, so I owe her everything." Because she said the same thing about Blackmont. Which maybe, then again, you have to remember, Maria's 13, you know? Someone's nice to her, someone sticks their neck out for her, she's gonna be like, "You're good," maybe. She isn't quite as jaded yet by other people, by the world. She knows how to read people in the world, but I don't think she's fully like, everybody's terrible. You know, she's not at that stage yet.
Give it time.
Oh, I mean, by the end of this episode, Miria's like, "Everybody fucking sucks. I hate them all. They're all dead." But yeah, so Maria lays on the charm nice and thick and she gets a job. She gets an in with Mama Ironwood, and she also bumps up that disposition an extra step, which is, I think, like the one thing Maria is really good at, because we've seen this before in the show. We saw it in season 1, where she orchestrated her own kidnapping accidentally by making Blackmont more like her more. She charms people, and then things happen. So, and actually the same thing happened this week. She charmed Mama Ironwood, and then right at the end, Mama Ironwood did a big fib for her. But we'll get to that one a bit later on. But that scene, it was just a little scene, but I think it was a, thanks Tom, beloved Queen of Dawn, Maria. We'll get there. To see you fuckers down here. It was just a little scene, but it was like a cool to like establish what Mary is up to down in Ironwood while everything, and the juxtaposition of that sort of quite quiet and semi-nice scene after Maekar is tearing her home apart looking for her, I think was a real good like juxtaposition there in terms of like, if it was an episode, that would be a real good scene to cut to. But after that Maria scene, we cut to, did we go to Highgarden after that with Simon? Yeah, Sam had a stress pee, and then we come back to Highgarden, and Simon is in a less than cute, nice scene. He is face to face with ex-lover, ex-girlfriend, Tamora Hightower. Because, you know, it's always awkward to bump into an ex. Even more so when she comes up to you with fluttering eyelashes and, "I've been thinking about you, Simon." And then you read her disposition and she's lying out of her fucking ass and she's completely indifferent to you. Oof, my friend. Oof. How was that one?
What made that the most difficult, I think, is that I don't want to say I've had interactions like that, but there have been like moments where I've known very good friends once upon a time, separated and then sort of crashed together, and it's like, "Oh, hi," and just a silence that pervades for like a solid minute. And as soon as I found out that Tamora was really lying, like in meta, we knew because, hey, that's a deception roll I see in the Roll20. As soon as Simon gathered that information, thanks in no small part to the extra bonus die that was conferred to him by, or not bonus die, test die, conferred to him by Purple, that I think was just one of many small dominoes that contributed to this absolute sea change in character. Like, I had envisioned him as something of a, from the onset, something of a social butterfly, but as Highgarden has taken its toll on him, and as this deceit has sort of manifested itself into even, having the one person that he truly loved now betray him, or, to his mind, betray him. It did a number. Not only, from a player standpoint, but on the character. It's just like, well, how do you recover from a body blow like this? And that was him trying to sort of suss it out through the intrigue. And yeah, just a bad time for Simon all around. Not a bad time all around, but yeah, that first hit sucked.
Yeah, like I totally get it. I mean, like, Simon is a very, like, bizarrely, I wouldn't have thought this from the start, he's a very reactive person. And he just immediately will act on anything. So he finds out that Tamora doesn't really give a shit about him anymore. She clearly wants something from him, otherwise she wouldn't be buttering him up like that. But Simon being Simon doesn't go, she wants something, I can find out what that is. He immediately goes, fuck you, I hate you, I'm gonna burn this all down.
Well, no, I will.
He said he loved her, right? More than any man could.
Yeah,
but
and
there's that anger in there.
Yeah, and that he wanted to have the information now. Like, as you said, he is reactive. He having this information now, it's like, okay, now that I know, you better fucking tell me what's going on. Like, fuck this, intrigue and all this. This has been my life for the past month at least, or even longer, considering, his doldrum work with the Citadel. Tell me what's going on. Tell me what you want. And as soon as that was met with even the slightest bit of resistance, it's like, okay, then you're not going to tell me, or I'm not going to find out. So move on to the next thing, which in point of fact is just betraying his sort of simplistic worldview and showing how much of a craphead he is. But like, yeah, it just
I love Simon, love how you're playing him, love you to bits, Jason, you're one of my best friends. Simon, for someone so smart, is so fucking dumb. He is so fucking dumb. He has all these avenues available to him, but when he doesn't get the stuff he needs right away, he's like, done, whatever, move on to the next thing, burn it, we're done. I'm not even gonna probe into this. It's not immediately available to me, so fuck it, setting it on fire, I'm gonna go away. And I'm like, as an outsider watching these scenes, I'm like, there's so many avenues here. You could like be like, oh, Tamara, darling, love you, smooch it, and find out what she wants. Nope, fuck you. Like the dinner with Lady Rowan could have been like, oh yeah, schmooze. Nope, fuck you. Didn't give me what I want straight away. The tower, with the maester, like, just, it's a really cool thing about Simon's character is that, he has all these smarts too. He's a real smart, researchy kind of guy. But I feel like it's all theoretical. He has no practical of this. He knows how to look through a library and get what he wants. He could use the Dewey Decimal System all fucking day. He's just popping up and down. He's got it memorized. But the practical applications of it are like difficult for him to comprehend, and I feel like he gets easily frustrated by this.
See, I think this is the most grounded we'd ever seen Simon. In this scene, it was about something that he understood because it was about himself. And I don't mean this in an egocentric way, but it's, I know me, I know my relationship with this woman, I know what I feel about her, I understand this. And I thought it was actually one of his most powerful moments when he said it hadn't been long enough. And it was a moment where he was very clear. He knew what he wanted. The second he knew she was lying, it wasn't that he was throwing, the baby out with the bathwater. It was, I need nothing from you. You have nothing of value to me. You are still a person that I care about deeply. You are still someone valuable in that respect. But right now, this is of no value to me. It wasn't like in Lady Rowan where we saw frustration. And, you know, other instances with Desmera where it's like, this isn't what I wanted. What are you guys doing? This was, I know what you're doing, and I don't want that. And so it was more decisive, I think, than we've ever seen Simon before. In a, not necessarily in a constructive way, but in a way that it was very clear in his motivations.
Well, in a decidedly destructive way. That's the thing. Without a support system, without, similar to Marcia, like without that sense of somebody has my back, I think Simon does get in those moods where it is, you know, burn every bridge that you come across, because it's just not worth the time. It's just not worth the effort. What I need to do is not what I'm doing right now. So move on to what I need to do. And I think that's maybe why he was never one, especially in the context of the his work with the Citadel, which was more in terms of histories and legends and whatnot. Histories and legends you can hunt down, nail to the page, and, you know, get that done. When you deal with the sciences and experimentation, that's just not something that gels with him. So he thinks there is a narrative here, there is something that I'm not seeing. Get to that already, because whatever's surrounding it, it's just a bunch of bullshit.
I think Pope put it pretty good in chat here that Simon's been twisting in the wind. Like, he's kind of been just stuck circling. He doesn't really had a direction to go in, because of, you know, the burned bridges, but also because of like what you said, you know, it's not what I want. I need to move on to the next thing. But he doesn't really know how to or where to go to do that. So he's kind of just been like twisting and catching his own tail, kind of, you know, kind of just stuck of what to do in Highgarden. Yep. Sorry, were you gonna say something?
As I sort of dug into his character, I tried to find a reason for this. Like, what exactly is, you know, preventing him from breaking out of the wind and sort of sailing on it, or at least trying to at least catch his breath, get to the ground, and sort of hunker down. And I think it might be something that's inherent to all Greenmont men. It might just be Simon, which totally fair. I think there's an overarching sense of importance that he impresses upon himself due to his circumstance. Father has died with no heir, as far as he knows, or at least no heir that could be reasonably considered suitable, which, no offense to Marcia, because, you know, as soon as you realize, hey, we've got 2 babies born of blood magic, if anybody found that out, it would be like doom upon the house. So now, as he is trying to, again, figure out what to do, he never processes anything. He just takes the information and carries it with him. He doesn't think about what he wants or what he's trying to do. He only knows the end goal. How to get the end goal, or how to get to the end goal, is irrelevant to him. He just needs to get to that point, whatever it is.
I feel like you said something there, though, that was like a bit of a disaster about, you know, there's 2 babies born of blood magic. God, I hope nobody ever finds out about that. But what did Simon do the second he found out the babies were born of blood magic?
Not the second he found out. Very soon afterward, probably like there were a couple hours in between. But no, I will say, yeah. But the thing is, he's able to, like some historians, not good historians necessarily, he is able to take the information, present it in a way to somebody important to whom that information is pertinent, and maybe get them to act. And he was banking on that with Lady Crane to say, look, I know this, you now know this, go over there and figure out the truth of it. Or go over there and just take your daughter away. Fine, whatever. That he was attempting to incite such vitriol against Lord Peake, I think might have fed into that kind of decision making, because it's like, I'm trying to get people to move, and yet it's like a gearbox that just won't shift. At some point, either your arm or the gear shift is gonna break. And yeah, I think he just decided, fuck it, let's see what's going on. And I think that's really what he's got left, because he's so paranoid and semi-delusional that, yeah, I mean, what else is there?
I think it's really interesting that Simon is so paranoid here at Highgarden, because most of the mess is his own making. You know, it's from allies that he shunned or things like that. But it's a really interesting sort of thing. And the fact that he is so paranoid that everybody at Highgarden's out to get him, that he hasn't just fucking bounced at the first chance, that he's hung around there despite that massive threat. Speaking of, though, massive threat, there was a certain maester that wanted to know where his vial of poison was.
He found out.
Yeah,
he found out real quick. And only because you rolled a 6, Sam, you like, I know I'm probably pointing to the wrong place on stream and yelling at, like, Don or Tom, but Sam, like, if you had not rolled that 6, I would have probably poured that poison down his throat. No, not that severe, but yeah, I think, again, there's just this hateful energy that's kind of manifesting inside him. And it's like, no, I don't want to sweet talk. I don't want to bribe you with some fucking groats. Get me to where I need to be now. Like,
I just can't believe the fucking balls on Simon, right? He has tangible evidence that this maester knows how to make fucking widow's blood or acquire it. And yet Simon's like, sup, fucking fight me. And I'm like, this dude will just have you killed. What are you doing? Keep your fucking mouth shut for 5 seconds and just be like, I'm sorry. I didn't, you know, I was mad. I did stab a dagger in your door. I'm sorry, but can you help me out one more time? But nah, Simon is like, we show Simon's not actually a Targaryen, because
I think he wants to be a Targaryen.
I think what it is that he is left to his own view of a situation. He will always assume the worst, so he will act almost in the worst way. And not only that, but I mean, there is a lot to say with just the sort of small delusions that grief can cause, especially unprocessed grief, and especially with what he's been carrying. He never told, like, I envision throughout the travels to Highgarden, he never told Mara what he was feeling. He always sort of went out and tried to do the same things that he did in Old Town, or you know, tried to keep a low profile, which is the exact opposite of what he needed to do.
I am having visions of Simon getting hold of a bottle of bleach, going into a bathroom, and slowly transforming himself into a Targaryen. Like, the path he's like winding down, like the delusions keep growing. He's like, they've lied to me all along. I am a dragon. And he emerges from the bathroom like one of these people having a midlife crisis, a streamer life crisis, bright blonde hair.
I mean, you know, we all used to joke about little Lord Wildfire, but
what are we at on the almost shanked scale?
At least
it's got to be double figures at least.
with this encounter, there's got to be like the 20th incident where Simon could have just been murdered, and it would have been completely like admissible in court.
I was fully on board with like throwing the maester in the fire, like literally like fighting over the vial of poison, and then, oh no, he slipped. Like, oh God, what a terrible.
The maester did nothing to Simon.
He locked him in a tower for a day. Like, that does things to somebody who's going, you know, who's a little bit.
So Simon is. We've now officially declared Simon has gone off the cliff. He's gone completely.
I think he is suffering from, and I've tried to do some research, sort of trying to figure out what exactly is going on. I think there are beginning manifestations of paranoid personality disorder, and like, Well, yeah.
I think he's there.
But with the way that his character is sort of constructed, I don't know if he can even sort of admit that to himself. Like he can't acknowledge that he's going through a lot. He can't acknowledge that what he's suffering is weighing on him heavily, because as soon as he acknowledges it, the enormity of it sweeps over him.
I think that's the reason why he's still in Highgarden. He's like, I can't let this beat me.
Well, because he doesn't see a need to go home. Not in the current state that he's in. See, that's the thing. He's always obsessed with what he is in the moment, never thinking about what he was in the past, what he's going to be in the future, but what he is. And what he is, he knows from an academic standpoint. If he were to go home, even if there were this cadre of people saying, yes, we will get you, installed as Lord of Foxhollow, and or if that was just an entire ruse, like his paranoia sort of informs him, he just wouldn't view himself as worthy at this point. And so by staying in Highgarden and by finding out all this information, consolidating it and then presenting it, he's trying to make himself more than what he actually is, which is just a poor fucker who doesn't know how to deal, period. Like, I mean, I wish I could put it more charitably, but he doesn't know how to deal. Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess that's been the case from day one, though. I mean, he fucking threw in his chain and told the Citadel to go fuck themselves without a plan or anything. He just did it. So yeah, it's not like this is completely come from nowhere with Simon. It's been his MO all along. He's just getting louder with it, I think.
Progressively more. Just
I feel like Simon offers such an interesting juxtaposition to Miria in that they're both almost wards of these hostile places. And they're both trying to figure out how to make it work for them, but they're going about it in two different ways. And I think they're both under the same pressures. They're both alone. They both are not used to these situations. And they're both reacting in the way they react. And it's both very Greenmont ways of reacting, but different at the same time. And this whole episode, I think, is a reminder this is Game of Thrones. You win or you die.
Oh, yeah.
And we're all just at different steps of that reminder now.
Yeah, and I mean, if anything, the threats hanging over each of the characters this week were all huge, and I feel like more than, maybe not in Miria's case, because Miria's had bigger threats, but they've all kind of been, I don't think they've ever been as bad as it's been this week. I think none of us has ever been as close to like death or imprisonment, or, I mean, obviously Alfred actually did die. God, Tom, yes, you get the award for being the dead one. We're all very proud of you. Congratulations. But the stakes have never been higher, as it is said. And after again another stress bio, we cut back to Foxhollow. Maekar now firmly with Whelan and Arm, kind of pacing the room, getting his soldiers to stand next to the Greenmont troops, and very much taking control and saying, this is what's going to happen. You either work with me or against me. And this is the point where Charlie goes, this person under the bus, this one under the bus, this one under the bus. Everybody, me, Don, sorry, Miria, Oliver, Peake, Tarly, Tyrell, Blackmon.
I think Marcia was very careful with who she threw under the bus and how. I think Miria was saved from that bus many, many times, and she is so lucky that Marcia loves her the way she does.
Oh, like, don't get me wrong. Very glad that Marcia loves Miria, but she let slip that Rob had brought back news from Ironwood at one point during the intrigue about that whole situation. And I was like, shit. Fuck. But thankfully, Rob is fucked off. He wasn't at the household to be interrogated by Maekar and his men. So I think we got away with that one. But Maekar is now definitely aware of Ironwood getting involved in this house and their business. Because Marzia said it, and Sam made quite the show of mentioning the cradle with the Ironwood seal on it. So
Maekar, I don't believe this would be a shock to Maekar. Maekar knows that Ironwood was one of the generals for Blackfyre, would have seen that on the battlefield. Maekar would be aware of the shit that went down in the tournament. There's no way that whisper didn't reach him at some point. And he would know just that, you know, Ironwood's the hedge knight for Greenmont. He's still around. It's interesting that his signal's on the baby's crib, though. What the fuck is that about?
Right, that's what I mean. Like, it's like knowing that someone is a hedge knight for the family and that their families have historically been linked because they're like across the mountains from each other is one thing. But when their family sigil is on a baby's crib, that's kind of a thing.
I do think it was kindling to the whole Maekar thinking this is Blackfyre 2.0.
Yeah.
It's these people again. It's fucking Peak. It's fucking Ironwood. I've seen this before.
Yeah,
No,
100%. Yeah.
I'm stopping this right now. And I think the second he picked up the baby, Marzia had lost his intrigue. It was just how much she was going to lose. And what I think is interesting is she made it very clear, like, she doesn't give a shit about what Peak and Talia are up to. She has no interest in the fighting. She just wants her people safe. And that was very clear to Maekar, which gave him, I think, more power by extension. But I think it's going to be real interesting when everyone meets up, because as has been mentioned in chat, everyone in the family now is so disparate in their goals and in what's going on. And it's going to make the conflict of it all so much more complicated.
Actually, that's a really good question for everybody then. How do you think your character will react when they find out what happened? I mean, for me personally, Miria, that's gonna really galvanize her to Oliver's way of thinking. Maekar has her brother. You know, he came and he fucking like threatened to tear everything apart, and she's out. He also has Harris, and you know, again, 13-year-old, not exactly the smartest. She fancies the pants off Harris. She wants to rescue Harris. He has her brother. She's gonna be like, let's do this, Oliver. We're gonna do it. We're gonna take him on. I'm with you. I mean, she's already like that anyway, but this would be the extra like, no, this is fucked up. He's got my brother. So that's how Miria would be. I mean, obviously, Miria's smarter than I am, so she would, you know, say it a bit more eloquently, but.
So, to Marzia's perspective, sorry, Don. Marzia doesn't believe Miria was in danger, particularly at Summer Hall. Her plan had always been like a slow rescue, like we'll eventually buy Miria back. So she's like, Blackmont took her. Blackmont has caused all of these problems. Now Blackmont taking her has caused my son to be taken. Because of course Maekar's going to want another ward. He's now seeing Blackfyre 2 and putting it down and squashing it. And, you know, that's a price that needs to be paid. So Marzia is very much like, all right, we've got to keep playing the long game now, because now he has my son. And he still wants Miria. I can't make this any more dangerous for either of these two people, because otherwise the house is gone. But yeah, I'm very interested as to how everyone else would react.
Done?
If Oliver had been at home at Fox Hollow when Maker arrived, it would have ended in bloodshed. Maybe before he even reached for the child, but definitely as soon as he got anywhere near that crib. Because for Oliver, you know, he doesn't make promises lightly. He is a man of like whatever. He has his own ambitions and his own things that he's working on, but he is a man of his word as much as he's able to be. And so to him, the twins, they're his sons, you know, and there's no way that he would ever allow a Targaryen to touch his child, let alone use it to weaponize it against the house. So it's a good thing that he decided not to come home to Fox Hollow with Miria, because that would have just exploded. It would have exploded. I don't know when he's going to find out or if he'll find out. That's one of the things, one of my big questions moving forward is how is the timing of everything going to line up in terms of when people arrive in certain places and when information gets to certain places. But if you were to look at the map that we see when we play the game, you would see, basically imagine a triangle, an equal length, perfect triangle. And on the south end of that triangle, you have Castle Ironwood. You have a road that leads north to Summer Hall. It's called the Bone Way, and it is controlled by House Ironwood. And then on the left side of the triangle, you have Vulture's Roost in the mountains. And basically, Vulture's Roost is between House Greenmont and Summer Hall. And then on the other end, you have House Ironwood. I say that because I think that if Oliver were to find out that Maker had his child, or Marcia's child, that there would, I don't think there's anything. He's already not, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that Blackfyre 2.0 is something that he thinks about a lot. And there is no, consequences be damned. I cannot imagine a situation in where he would not, where he would march on Summer Hall or do something similar to try to gain the freedom of that child. So I don't know how that'll play out. There's so many random possibilities of things that could happen in the near future. But I think there's a good chance that we'll get to see a different side of Oliver that we haven't really gotten to see so far in the campaign.
I would just like to direct you all to the attention to a message I received at 20:46 at Thursday during the game from Don. This is the start of the war, 100%. I really want to PK Greg.
I sent Sam a private message earlier today asking him if I could.
Did he respond?
Yes.
Yeah.
He did.
I was like, sure, but not this week.
Not today.
I'll add in that during that intrigue, I also had a message from Jonathan Fry, and it said, "Eat him." It was 2 words in capital letters, and this was just as I'd mentioned, I think, to the guards that Salistria was out, because this is the flip side. Marcia's true energy would have been that cat, and if that cat had come in the room, we'd have a dead cat, because she would have gone to protect the baby in the way that Marcia really wanted to, but Marcia had to play the political game and protect the baby in a longer way, as she believed, as best she could.
I thought the best play, and Marcia made a lot of great plays. I loved how you played this scene, even though you had very little wiggle room, and Marcia did everything you could, and you were really engaged in the scene. And I thought, Charlie, you were really honest. But the best play I thought you made, and you made it a few times to kind of reinforce the idea, is you threw House Tyrell under the bus. And in this situation, they absolutely are culpable. They permitted the armies to come south, and obviously without getting proper approval or letting the Targaryens know, their liege lords know that they allowed for this. So that's a big deal. I mean, that implicates them in treason just as much as it implicates Peake and the Tarleys.
I think the thing about it was, I don't know how far Maekar really believed that this was a huge treason. He believes maybe it's the stirrings, it's the beginnings. It was more the threat of, I can view it this way, and you know what that means. You know that means that all of your heads will be on spikes outside of someone's house very soon. And the dangerous thing for Marcia about implicating the Tyrells is she does believe it's well, I'm not the leader of the Reach. Yes, they came to my house, but I'm basically on the way. It was an afterthought, if anything. You need to go and talk to Leo Tyrell. The dangerous thing about it is Leo Tyrell is the one that confirmed her for Regent. So Marcia in this scene did a lot to undermine herself.
Mm-hmm.
And there are witnesses to it from Greenmont. In that Lana was there, but also those Hollow Hearts guards were there. So there are people who saw what she went through, but also saw what she said and how she acted. And I genuinely believe like this is a scene where she's lost the house. She's got to do a lot of work right now to turn it around, because there have been so many mixed messages of, we're on Tali's side, we're against Tali. No, you can't kill the Talis, bad. And go to war, stay. And it's a lot of backwards and forwards. And now they're going to, at some point, potentially get this letter, definitely penned by Maker, saying, turn the fuck around, son.
Mm-hmm. Just to circle back though, Tom, what would Alfred think to make her waltzing into Fox Hollow and walking back out with a baby?
Well, the likelihood of Alfred actually discovering any of this before he returns is very, very slim.
For sure.
But should he, I think siding with Bittersteel is looking more and more good in his mind, like the right choice. He would worry that he's not there to help protect Marcia. He'd be thinking through his mind, well, could I have done something different? Could have this come in? If I was there, maybe something would have been different. Deep down, he probably knows nothing would have changed. He couldn't really have done anything. Unless, of course, Marcia gave him the nod and then arrows just loose. But honestly, if anything, it's probably pushing him more to Bittersteel out of all of this. It probably is. Yeah.
Jason, as the only loyalist here.
Yeah, that's shaping up to be a heavy demand, really. I don't know if Simon would react, to be perfectly honest, because there's a part of me that says, no, this was made up by Desmera to draw you away yet again from Highgarden. Just ignore it and move on. But if he was convinced of the legitimacy of this missive, if he was, I mean, short of the ghost of his mother popping up and saying, hey, go help now, I don't think he'd know what to do with House Greenmont anymore. Already it's so alien to him. Like, he thought that there would be some sort of resonance with Mara. That didn't pan out the way that he wanted, so he moved on. And he doesn't even know Marcia. Like, truthfully, there's no interaction that they've had that's been concrete enough for him to say, yes, I have a good knowledge of the character of this woman. Same with Oliver, same with Alfred, same with everybody in the house. It's like he wants so desperately to remember and yet knows nothing. Like, it's very strange. If he heard the news, I don't know if he'd have a reaction.
Do you think, would Simon think standard protocol? They lost a ward, they need another one. He's got a new ward.
I think
would it be
think,
like as blunt as that, or would it be?
He would think it unconventional. He would see the logic behind it, but that would be if he took it on as legitimate news, like, hey, this actually happened. I saw it with my own eyes. Then I think that would be the first page, the first step that he would take on the road to maybe considering that perhaps the Targaryens really just don't care about these sort of protocols of history, that they only care about power and whatnot.
No, not the Targaryens.
Not the Targaryens. No, obviously not. Well, he's only been exposed to the highly sanitized versions that are available in the Citadel. Like, if it said that Maekar was in the right, if it said that one of the Aegons or, one of the Baelors was justified in having one course of action over another, then there would have been obvious sort of outside perspectives that he would have incorporated and said, okay, that happens. With Maekar taking Weirlin, it's like, wait, you're just one dude. This is like, yeah, but think about the circumstances that are currently going on. Like, you were searching for this one ward and you failed in that. You don't get to take another ward. You go and find the one that you lost. And failing that, you compensate the family.
Of course,
So,
that's very different from what Simon has, because obviously the victors write the history, and all the history he's learned about the Targaryens is by them because they've been the victors, and they've
for 198 years.
Yeah, like in a very positive light that these are all, and then all of a sudden they're breaking the rules, and it's like, well,
no,
what?
like timeout, referee, just kind of stepping in here.
Yeah, like can they do that? That's not.
So I have a wild foundless Simon tinfoil.
Oh.
Have you considered the possibility that Simon telling Marzia's mother about the blood magic caused her to write a letter and send a raven, and that Maker knew the rumor when he arrived at Fox Hollow because of Simon?
That would just give all the more reason for Charlie to hate Simon's character.
Can we go with that then? Can we just make that canon now?
No, please. I'd like to have some friends.
Because, like ravens can fly fast. I'm just pointing it out there. Timeline
fast
is
little
possible.
fuckers. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that would be an interesting line. If Sam wants to incorporate that, having just written in his notes, I see, then, I mean, that's a possibility. It could also just be that I don't want to say much like Greg, because that sounds disrespectful, and he did such a wonderful job, but much like Greg going in blind and saying, hey, there's a baby here, let me take this baby, and just fucking off back to Summerhall. Which, valid.
We can adapt. It's easily adapted.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think this whole Maekar coming to Summerhall thing is a lot of him saving face. Because it's a real fucking bad look to lose a ward. These are people under your protection that you are supposed to, and he's a prince. It's not like the Starks warding a Greyjoy, right? The Starks at that point are not kings anymore. They are they are like the wardens of the North, but they're not kings in the North. They're a major house, but still, if anything had happened to Theon while Theon was there at Winterfell, bad look, because they're supposed to be raised like one of your kids, That's the part of wardship, is you take them on and raise them as yours. They're a hostage, but
I think what this is going to be is Mako's gone out. He's gone to find Miria. He's stumbled into this massive plot. Miria is a traitor. Miria was a spy working with Daenerys Storm. He's gone up to Fox Hollow. Guess what? Blackfyre 2.0 is going on up there. He's taken this child. Don't worry, Baelor. They're under control, but, we got to deal with that shit a little bit more. And this is, like you say, it's a PR stunt. I think he was obviously personally like, fuck, that little shit has just ruined everything. I've now got to go traipsing. And so he genuinely was like, I've just had to walk all the way here. Or ride all the way here. This is shit. This is a shithole. You are a shit house. I shouldn't have to be doing this, but I'm here. And so I think it is Maekar saving face, and it does look bad, but only from our perspective. From everyone else's perspective, he's got out. He's dealing with this traitorous ward. The houses in the south are stirring shit again. He's doing what he can to peacefully resolve this, and he's just offered this baby this better life at Summerhall. You should have seen the dire conditions at Fox Hollow. She can't even read and write. Did you know that? Like, the way that he can frame this, it's so easy to sell that he's the hero in this situation.
I mean, even if he hadn't discovered this Blackfyre 2 brewing, right? Him going out and looking for Miria, he could spin that as he's personally gone to rescue this ward that was kidnapped from his house. He's a hero. He's gone to rescue this young maiden to save her from a life of brutality and whatever. And then now also he can be like, oh, by the way, I also discovered a huge fucking plot. I'm like this tactical-minded badass. I fucking put it down before I even started. So it was like a win-win for Maekar to go out.
He doesn't even have to frame it as I was rescuing the ward. It's I was going to go and fetch the traitor.
Well, yeah,
She's
also,
the one that released this other terrible traitor. I was doing the right thing. I've taken my little army out. We've stomped around, and we're getting to the bottom of this. I think Leo Tyrell is going to have a shit day when he gets to the office on Monday.
Oh,
Like the memos that would be flying across his desk.
let's be real. It's not going to be Leo. It'll be his mum. When she unravels that raven, she's like, fuck's sake. Fucking shitbag son.
What
Where is
have
he?
Wayne and Leo been up to now?
Well, what's really interesting is that apparently just the Lord of Highgarden, the liege lord of this entire region, is just so shit at his job that he can't even get a little bit of a message like, hey, by the way, we've got a little bit of a situation here.
This is my only quibble with Simon. Simon should have fucking known that a crown prince, but a prince was on his way to Fox Hollow. Simon should have gotten that information. We should have known. But you were busy. Like, I'm not like dunking on you at all. You ended up busy with other things.
Yeah.
But if Simon had been playing, a spy for the house, that would have been such a tide turner to have had the warning. Make her on way.
Yeah.
Watch out. Get the good stuff. Save some chicken. Put the kettle on. He's in the modes. But yeah, I mean, let's be real. It's not as we said, it's not gonna be Leo. I mean, he'll get it, like his public reputation, but it'll be his mom and his wife and all the other people that run the fucking court that will get the real shit end of the stick there.
You mean all the other women, really?
All the other women.
It's so fucking strange. I think Maekar is really the first man in power that we've seen like do something effective. Everybody else has been feckless and weak. Like it's so jarring.
I mean, the thing about it, right, is we're in kind of a spring, and that's downtime. All of these men are just kick back. War is done. It's spring. We just kick back. We have a good time. We have some tourneys. We have some feasts. We argue amongst each other. We'll go for a jaunt to Dawn if we fancy it for fun.
Well, that's it. Westeros football season's just started, so all the blokes are off down pub fucking watching joust and not doing their fucking jobs. But yeah, and yeah, as Matt says, it's post-war too. We're in a peacetime period. It's just like a...
No one wants to stir the pot, get involved.
Oh yeah.
The more you get involved, the worse your life is going to be.
Yeah, who would stir a pot and get involved in things? Speaking of stirring the pot and getting involved with things, though, I believe we missed off a bit of Simon's Highgarden exploits, where he went back to the Maester's Tower without fog roats this time, just the threat of murder, and dug through Peake's financial records some more and found out them numbers be fucky. There is something going on here, and there is a conspiracy here at some point, somewhere along the line. Can't remember, did we find out who exactly was responsible for this? We know that Hightower is treasurer of coin, right? The master of coin. And that's kind of his purview, the records and stuff?
Based off of all the information, Randall Hightower, who's the treasurer of Lord Leo's court,
right,
has documents which have been amended in certain circumstances for certain houses. In particular, the houses that are most involved with the little bit of the Dornish jaunt that was had by Peake and his pals.
The lad's holiday, yeah.
Yeah, Peake, Costain, even Tarly, I believe, had some of their affairs kind of muddled. But Hightower was clean, as well as one other, I think Tyrell. But generally, yeah, that these don't add up or justify the sort of ability for Peake and his cronies to be like, yeah, no, we're just gonna not pay taxes, have this whole army go over perfectly fine, got it under control. Like, yeah, no, there was something wrong.
I have a theory about this. Hightower, we know, middlemen, they didn't really want to get involved in Redgrass. They kind of just sat in their tower and guarded Old Town. And when Leo called, they were like, all right, fine. That was like the extent of their involvement. I see no reason why someone who would be anti-Costain, Peake, etc. would doctor reports to make them look poorer. You only do that if you're on their side. So I think this is Costain, who we have seen from the beginning weaseling around, stirring the pot, is involved but not involved. You know, he goes to see Mara at the tournament, says hi, and then when they're at Highgarden's like, coming up breakfast, me and Tali and Peek are hanging out. And then Tali and Peek and Oakheart end up going south to Dawn. Costain, nowhere to be fucking seen. And Costain has had this thing that, because it's a justification when they come back and said, you know, you didn't pay your tax. It's like, we couldn't afford it. Look at the records. You know, we only had enough for this or whatever. So it's hiding. It's hiding money. It's hiding wealth. And wealth, as we know, gets turned into armies, gets turned into bribes, and all of those kind of things. And so it's got to be someone who is in that camp. And the only person I can think of that it's like to be is Costain. Peek is not smart enough. Tali, maybe. Probably not. He's pretty dumb. He couldn't even get my baby's names right. Who names? So I think it's Costain, or there is another person that we don't know about yet, or it's someone in the background. We do know that we had Tamora Highgarden sniffing around Jason. So, not Jason, sorry, Simon. So it's possible that Hightower's gone whiff. There's something going on that is being investigated, is being snooped, that he doesn't want found out. So maybe Hightower is in on it, or maybe he just wants to know what this Maester knows.
I 100% think that Tamora was sent to get some off of Simon. From who? Desmera, maybe her family, whoever. There's somebody at court that sent Tamora after Simon.
Yeah.
Because there's no way she'd just be like, ooh, you know, for nothing.
Yeah. And I think there are a lot of potentials. Like, obviously, Costain could be doctoring the numbers. Then there's the possibility that these amendments are completely meaningless and that Simon has just stumbled upon something that may be, you know, maybe bunk, could be misreporting or what have you, which that's probably on the low scale of possibility at this point.
We do know that Desmera had that whole wine watering scheme to try and bankrupt Merryweather.
Yeah.
So we know that they're trying to control money, trying to control funds, and humiliate people.
Yeah. It could be a thing with, well, since he didn't investigate red wine could have a hand in it, or it could be that maybe Hightower is not as neutral as was previously thought, considering how shit Leo is at his job. Like,
I just low-key, high-key want it to be Desmera because I haven't seen her in a while, and my big gay heart wants to see her again. But there's definitely some sort of conspiracy going on because it's Highgarden, right? Like, Leo Tyrell's doing fucking nothing. It's prime for somebody to start poking around and doing what they want. Tinfoil, let's go.
Leo Tyrell's wife, I was going to say Cassella, but that's not her name.
Ksenia.
Something like that. Ksenia.
Because I done did Sam and Dirty.
Know is a power player. And she plays the clever way. She plays the way that Targaryen women play. And it's, what if she is interested in a Dornish rebellion and she is sneaking around, putting people in power and playing games of her own? Because we don't know what the Dornish faction are up to. We know the Martells are marrying Ironwoods. We know, that the Martells are obviously married in, and there's a lot of stuff going on. But we don't know what these women who, could be Black Widows, could be Femme Fatales, could be, assuming power in these Reacher houses are doing, and if they have their own plots and their own ideas behind these marriages that they've made. Because if you're a strong Dornish woman, you're going in there with the interests of the country or, the region you're leaving behind a lot of the time, unless you don't like it, at which point you're like, hey, Reach, what's up? And you become the new en vogue girl in the Reach. But, I have question marks about her because we saw how good she was at puppet mastering Leo Tyrell around Lady Rowan and other little things that we've seen. So I wouldn't write her off either as someone who is interested in things that are going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think,
and I can't remember which house she's from. I just know she was married into
Lady Bright.
Lady Bright. Right.
The beauty beyond the mountains.
I think it's just fair to like assume at this point if they're Dornish, they're really hot.
Yeah.
Or if
Like,
they're Targaryen, like this is how it goes. Like if you're a Targaryen,
Again.
you're one of the #1 beauties in the world. If you're
I
Dornish,
mean-
one of the #1 beauties.
I mean,
in the
let's
world.
be honest. Most characters we've talked about are pretty hot.
I mean,
If we're honest, you know.
there are like how many fairest woman in all the realms
this
at
our
any one
new-
point in time.
Our new theory: you're hot or you die.
Yeah.
Is that like how this
Yeah.
goes?
I want Sam to create a character that's so ugly that.
Maekar
but-
is pox-ridden.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Pox
that. Yeah, I
God,
forgot
really.
it
But
was.
then
yeah.
again, he's got that big beefy athletic thing about him,
Yeah.
And he was played by Greg. I mean, who doesn't love Greg?
right?
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know. I think if there was like a really ugly character that showed up, we'd all still love them too much, though. They would be like really good somewhere else, and we'd be like, no.
What? Lest we forget, Alfred lost a fucking eye. Like, there's like a whole half of his face
He's
that's
still a
disfigured.
handsome
Just made him
boy.
hotter.
Chick stick scars, right?
Okay, I see. All right, fine. I'm in the wrong here. I apologize.
I mean, Jason,
I retract
if you
my
ever get
statement.
5 minutes, just Google Yorvith, turn off safe search. Missing eye means nothing.
Yeah, shit, that's true. Oh. Now that you've related it to Yorvith, now I understand.
Get really bad mental pictures now.
There you go. Oh,
You're welcome.
now that we've plunged this fucking...
With what, sorry?
That's real
Phrasing?
bad. Yeah, phrasing. I'm just gonna shut up.
Fresh run of that, Susie. Try again.
The next scene. Speaking of marriages and Martells and Ironwoods. Next scene, we head back to Dawn. And Maria is... Oh no, was that the final scene? No, we cut back. Was that the final scene?
You were the last.
Yeah.
All right, okay, so before that, we'll wrap up Maekar and Marcia, because I skipped like that whole end thing.
That's okay. I kind of wish it hadn't happened. So.
I mean... So
Oh no, the final scene is Maekar leaving.
it is with the baby, yeah,
Guys.
yeah, yeah. But we did miss the bit where Greg did the horrible thing where he
Oh,
shit us all up
so
asking if
bad.
there was a fucking window in the house, and we're like, why do you need a window, Greg? Greg, why do you need a window?
Yeet!
Don't eat the baby. But then just makes it worse and puts a burning hot poker right in the baby's face, and he's like, did you teach him to obey the law? And Marcy's like, he's 3 weeks old. He's a fucking baby. He's 3 weeks old. What are you, maniac? Maekar's like, fucking, it's fire.
And she's trying to be cool and respectful. She's like, might not ban dragons, will ban baby. Please no. Please, friend. She's like trying so hard not to ask him to put the baby down. Like I was like, put the baby down, put it down.
Mm-hmm. But can we just say that though that the continued use of there is like one of the most threatening things I've ever heard. Like, and particularly once Maekar defeats Marcia in the intrigue, and we had this whole humiliating scene where he makes her sit down and he makes her pen a letter, but Marcia can't, she's illiterate, she can't read, she can't write. And that's like her fear, right? That's Marcia has this drawback where she has a fear of losing face, of losing like position. And he does like the one thing that's just humiliating. And Marcia like is forced to like have this letter dictated recalling the Greenmont troops. Which she slyly tells to a guard to like, get Mara out of there for fuck's sake. Because
So that was actually, I think that came out after the session ended. I said to Sam, there is one tiny like thing that I want done, and it's that Marcia says X to that guard.
mm-hmm.
And I know that Greg has also given Sam instructions, so that I think that's going to be real interesting when it plays out. But that whole letter scene was just the worst. And Maekar at the same time is going, you know, you can't trust other people to write your words for you. You know, you can't trust things, and like it's so true, but Marcia has no idea that she can't trust Lana.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, okay, so which of these two do you trust the most, because the baby needs a maid? And Marcia's like, well, I can't send my grandmother, she's not even like she doesn't belong to me. And Lana's like, don't you fucking dare. Don't you order me off this mountain. And Marcia's like, what choice do I have?
So you're suggesting you own Lana?
Yeah, I do. I'm the regent. She belongs to the house. You can order someone from your house to do something. The thing is like, it wasn't at that point Marcia just...
I mean, what other option did she have, right? You got to send a Greenmont with a Greenmont.
She could have asked Grammy Crane, but Grammy Crane says no, that would have been fucking terrible. But she also has no kind of right or place to do that. She can't send Braith, who actually would probably have been the best person because she at least knows how to look after the babies. Grammy Crane also would have been a great person as a healer. But yeah, so she has no choice, and it has to be Lana. Braith would have been an insult to make her. And she tried to offer herself, so like, don't take the babies, take the regent. You know, you want control of the house, take the regent. Just straight, no, not interested. I want the ward.
Well, because a baby, you know, he can raise that, well, have that baby raised as a Targaryen. Fucking completely brainwashed. That kid will be like, Papa Micah, you know, that kid will grow up being like, Greenmont who? Until they're old enough to come home and kill their brother and take their house.
And I do think with that humiliation, it was maybe you're right, maybe, you know, Whelan will at least, you know, be looked after. We'll get to learn things. We'll have access to things that I can't provide. Especially now, like, the house is all but abandoned by everyone. And she is kind of on her own. So yeah, it was so rough, but he'd already won. She was already going to agree to everything, and she had no reason to get frustrated other than the fact she was losing her baby. But kicking off about that would have only gotten people killed.
Yeah. Well, you're just taking the other one too. And it's been like, all right, you don't get any babies. Fuck you. But yeah, so once that had all played out and Marcia had lost everything, Maekar just comes up to her. There. And I was just like, oh, that was such a good little scene from Greg. That's just like the ultimate contempt from Maekar there. That smug fucking Targaryen bastard just oozing out of him. Awful.
And like the look that Lana gave Marcia was the sign of, we're not on the same team, and you know that now.
Let's just imagine, though, what's going to happen with Lana at Summerhall.
I don't care.
Oh, spooky Lana.
I hope she doesn't make it.
Wow.
I mean, even Simon forgot she existed, so...
Wow, I think you and I are the only ones that fucking like Lana.
I have some sympathy for Lana in that she's just basically been dragged away from the only family she's ever known to this, you know, prince's house who basically killed her brother and her nephews. And obviously she was fearful of the black magic, but she is in it for herself now, which is kind of fair in a way, because whatever, but...
See,
but this is Team Greenmont.
I don't think she is. I think Lana is Greenmont old guard. So from the moment that even Oliver showed up and started sniffing around Lucas, I mean, quite literally, Lana, I think, was like, this is the beginning of the end. She's the crone on the mountain. She would never, this is her home, this is her everything. And as soon as like the whole Blackfyre thing started, I think Lana was like, this is it. We're done. This is the end. And Marcia, from blood magic onwards, Lana's like, no,
Lana had a chance in that scene. She was there. She could have said
she didn't want to get involved.
Yeah, she
well,
was
that's
like
her problem then, isn't it? Like...
She was like the only voice in this entire thing that was against it. Everyone else there was going, go on, do a little bit of blood magic. It's fine, you know. Only voice. Do you think if she spoke up, anyone would have stopped it? No. And, you know, you also like, oh, I don't care about Lana. No, the simple fact of the matter, she was probably there for Simon to help him grow up, you know, cared for. And with you, with Marcia, she welcomed you to the family when you were supposed to marry one of the sons, you know, gave you into the Greenmont, you know, eased you and helped you while you were alone. What do you mean she's not a Greenmont? She's probably the most solid Greenmont ever. She has done nothing to help her family.
In this time, she was just faced with a prince. If she'd have wanted to do something, she could have said something.
Oh, that's what gratitude gets you.
Oof. I still think that I think Lana did the best with what she could. I am, you know, you just because you're in a family doesn't mean you have to back them up or agree with what they were doing. She didn't outright condemn Marcia to the point. She didn't out her straight away. You know, she didn't scream it from the rafters about what Marcia had done or anything like that. She very quietly sent a message to Simon saying, look, please get home. Things are, I mean, I agree, her sending a letter to Simon was fucking disastrous. It wasn't a
straight
great
to high
plan.
garden court. She should have just gone herself, lazy bitch.
She's an old woman.
How long do you think it takes her before she tells Maekar?
I actually don't think Lana will, but I do wonder what Lana will get up to.
As soon as she got outside the walls, hey, you know that fucking baby's cursed, right?
Yeah, you've got a cursed baby right there.
You picked the spooky one.
I think, like, no, I do, like, in meta, I like Lana. I disagree with a lot of her actions for a lot of reasons, but I do like her. I think the dangerous thing about her is she's insidious. She doesn't have to do the big plays. She's, like you say, old school Greenmont. She'll do it quietly, but now I question where her wrath is going to be directed. And I think she can be very much more destructive in quiet ways than she will be constructive for anyone, including herself.
I personally want Lana to wreak her fucking havoc at Summerhall and do her thing.
I do too.
Yeah, I think she'd
be
great.
What does Summerhall ever do to you? The world did what Will did to you. Just saying.
Look,
that's Dornish,
you don't
guys.
know.
That's
you don't know what it was
Dorns.
like.
You can't trust Dorns. Look at what they do.
I'll have
now
you know,
that's the
Charlie.
Reacher girl we know and love.
I'll have you know that my father is Dornish.
Yes, let's discuss that, shall we?
Speaking of, the next scene after Maekar taking everything from Marcia was Horatio arriving back at Ironwood. And everybody, including, well, mainly me, going as he pulls up with his brand new little wife, little being the operative word, a girl of 13, Sylvia Martell, and Horatio's got to be in his 40s, right? Because, yeah, he's just a bit younger than Oliver, and Oliver's in his 50s. So Horatio's
yeah, I think he's like 45.
Oh. Horatio with like, here's my wife. She's like 30 odd years younger than me. Isn't she cute? And I'm like, gives me the boke, as they say up north. He introduces her to his mother and father, and then clocks Miriam and is like, I don't recognize these people, Mum. Who are they? And Sam goes to me and goes, hey, Susie, so, giving you an opportunity here. You can burn a destiny point, and Mama Ironwood will tell him whatever you want. And I was like, oh, okay, let's do it. Let's fucking burn it. Because Horatio finding out that that's Miria is probably going to be very bad. So Don and I previously, going a few weeks back, had discussed what we called Plan B. B standing for bastard. We had planned the bastard gambit in which Miria would claim to be Oliver's bastard daughter. Because we thought, A, Miria, the name Miria Greenmont disappearing for a while is probably pretty good for Miria and the house. If she's not there, her name's not there, that's fine. B, we thought it would be fucking hilarious to piss Horatio off. So when presented with the opportunity, it's what I decided to go with. So we decided that the destiny was burned and Miria Greenmont would become Casella Sand for a while. And Horatio didn't take, well, outwardly took it quite well. And I'm really pissed that my passive deception was 1 point off what I needed. 1 point. But he saw through the ruse, but was playing along. He's all like, oh, can't wait to get to meet you more, niece, really menacingly. And I'm like, what the fuck? But Maria is a little shit, as it were, and she's all like, likewise, uncle, get fucked. And I think from that point onwards, she has gone into turbo survival mode. And so when Sam asked about how this was put forward, how this sort of ruse was put in place, we decided that it came that Mama Ironwood and Maria had discussed this and discussed that it was probably safer that Maria disappear for a while. And that in terms of Papa Ironwood, that's something Maria took care of in a way that I find to be absolutely reprehensible, but was done out of survival, not excusing it. But she, you know, she took him for a little walk around the garden, and she's like, "Hello, grandfather, I'm your granddaughter, aren't I? Grandfather, I am Oliver's daughter, grandfather," just playing on this old man's dementia. Felt awful. Like, terrible. Like, genuinely awful. And I think it's like one of the first truly like morally bad things that Maria's done.
Yeah, not even, you can't even argue that it's ambiguous or that, no, because given circumstances like that. I think it's interesting to see where the shades of morality, as in the books mirrored in this game, kind of shift. The goalposts kind of become modified whenever a character is faced with particularly stressful situation.
Mm-hmm.
I want to touch a little bit on the kind of ethics we brush up against, and I think I am an advocate for exploring that within a safe space. And what's great is I think we all trust each other, and we have lines and veils that we've already established. And I think because I have to play a lot of bad guys as well, right? And there can be some misogyny. There could potentially be some homophobia when it comes to Alistair and stuff. But ultimately, I think it's important that so long as we acknowledge, and like this, we discuss what they're doing,
mm-hmm.
and we acknowledge that it's bad. Like, none of us are our characters.
No.
And role-playing gives you an opportunity to explore something that can be quite spicy, and then absolutely, like you've said, be like, that was awful. I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and it's more to the point, like, given that it is a space that we have established, it's very clear, like, Susie needs no iteration, but you're a dear friend of mine, and you know, we all, everybody assembled here, I hope I speak for everyone when I say we all love you very dearly, and that we care about your development, etc., etc. But also, hey, Miria, what the fuck? Like, I mean, it was the first opportunity for me outside of Simon to go, hey, what the hell? Pump the brakes. What happened?
I think, though, it spoke to a really important part of Miria's development. I think that part of her childhood naivety is being taken away from her now. She's starting to see how horrible and cruel this world is, and trying to realize that some of the stuff she has to do to survive in this world now. Because up until, like, this point, she has been a passive element in everything that's happened to her. You know, kidnapped from Summerhall, taken prison in the mountains, Oliver showing up, even though Oliver did give her a choice, still kind of didn't really have a choice. You know, she brought back to Ironwood. Like, she's never really had a chance to, like, do something, and now she's doing something, and it's not a good thing. It's definitely not a good thing, but it's survival for her, and it's gonna be where she goes next from here. If she just did that to survive, or if she's gonna do that to advance herself. If she keeps doing it to get herself higher and higher and more power, then that becomes even worse, and she becomes a villain, basically. But if she's doing these things out of desperation, out of panic, I feel like that gives her a little bit of leeway. It's still a bad thing that she's done, but it's not being for, like, personal advancement, if you know what I mean. It's not in, like, I want a new job, so I'm gonna, like, smear the manager of this place and get them fired so I can get it, right?
I think, like, that is what the game is about. Like, you win or you die, and it is about how far do you go to survive, what tactics do you use to survive. And what's left at the end of that is either you survive or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, this world isn't fair, and good characters don't make it.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't, which is why we are all waiting for Alistair to drop there, because he is too good for this world.
But that was all the addendum I would add to what I said. Good fiction, wherever it is, will make you question why someone did what they did,
mm-hmm.
and it will make you evaluate that.
Yeah,
it's quite simplistic and crass to almost say. It's like the argument of, like, if you ask a 6-year-old that if you know, a guy stole a loaf of bread from a supermarket, you know, is that a good guy or a bad guy? It's a bad guy. He stole a loaf of bread. And you ask a 12-year-old, they'll be like, well, why did he steal the loaf of bread?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's because he needs to feed his family, is he a bad guy? So, like, you know, and I always think good fiction should make you ask those questions.
Yeah.
Or should examine somebody who does something so irreprehensible that you kind of need some context. It's like what media does to you know, like human disaster or dire criminal occurrences when people have died. It's like, you know, like how we have so many serial killer documentaries, or when there is unfortunately something like a shooting and the media has to go, why? And they have to examine it, because then that context provides you with some kind of like personal armor to deal with that situation.
I think in Marcia's scene, she did a couple of things which could be written as truly terrible. One of which was letting her son be taken. One of which, you know, why didn't she do anything to stop him? I don't think sending Lana is a bad thing. She's going to Summer Hall. It's a nice fucking palace. But she turned on to allies. She said, Peak and Tali, they were here. These are all the things that have happened. She has been a loyal character, and she's played a lot of that loyalty. But we've seen like how quickly she will turn on some people. And I think she had good reason for what she did. But when it comes to the history books, if Peak and Tali, for example, win a civil war, she is a filthy traitor who ran straight to a dragon, told him everything.
Mm-hmm.
On a personal level, she handed over a tiny baby to a man and just let him leave and said, yeah, you can have my daughter as well when she gets back. So it's one of those weird things, and all of the characters have these gray zones, and it is, like we were saying, you know, history is written by the victors, and it depends on perspective, and it depends on the information you have. We all have a lot more information than our characters do. And if Marcia knew half of what I knew, things would be very different, but she doesn't. So
absolutely, for sure.
It's you survive or you don't.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, Game of Thrones is all about that gray area. Song of Ice and Fire is all about these characters making these choices. Good men doing bad things and bad men doing good things, and everything in between. But yeah,
I think that's kind of like what Alfred faced with his choice of, do you go to King's Landing on a suicide mission there to make sure this body's taken back and get closer to Westeros? Or do you go on a suicide mission to this place you've never heard of to fight a war you don't care about because, you know, you could maybe grow in the army? And, you know, it was a tough decision because either way could be a suicide mission. Either way, he could advance something. But also, we know from Tom, from what you said, like, he wants to make sure that body gets to where it needs to go. Because we all said just dump it over the side. Or we discussed, like, the things that you could do to that body to make it a non-problem anymore. That you don't have to deliver anything. But Alfred won't do that. And Alfred is, I think, one of the most morally successful characters at the moment in how they're drifting up and down this scale. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how he continues to progress.
Just to round off this final scene, though, then, it is clear that, to Miri at least, because she read Horatio, that Horatio knows that she is not who she says she is. Maybe not that she is in fact Miria, but that he is playing along with it, and he's also very, very unhappy to hear that his brother is still alive and that he is perhaps in control of the Ironwood armies, because it was revealed to him that Oliver is home and he's in a little sortie in the mountains and should be back real soon, so don't even worry about it. We'll put the kettle on for him. But I think that was really interesting. Even though Miria lost in the fact that her gambit didn't exactly work, she won in the fact that Horatio now knows that his mother lied to him. And he knows that his brother is here. And why is his mother lying to him? And his shitbag brother is back, and he's brought this woman with them. You know, there's some seeds of discontent to sow here, and there's definitely something that can be worked with. And I'm very, very excited to see what we can do from there. Also, you know, his new wife being around Miria's age is also quite a good angle. Because Miria can be like, hey, we're the same age. Like, talk to me, what's it like? And then, you know, that's because Miria is not a fighter. She's not a warrior. She's not a commander. She can talk to people. That's her main thing. Although I feel like at some point there's going to be a very panicked conversation with Daemon going, look, can you please teach me how to just at least defend myself? Because I feel like I might need it. How sword do? How knife work? Which bit stab? Thanks. But yeah, Ironwood's going to get real spicy. Big fear. Big fear. Need Oliver not to die and come back. Because I want to see Horatio's face. Yes, Charlie.
So I have many thoughts about this. Firstly, I think the first blood that Miria gets is going to be real messy. We've seen her so close to shanking someone, I think 2 or 3 times now. And every time she's gone to do it, the fight is finished.
Every time.
I think she's going to get in there, and I think it's going to be messy. And I think we're going to see a release of a lot of energy that she has. A lot of anger, amongst other things. And 2, I think it could almost be fascinating and better for Miria if Oliver doesn't come back. Because I think we will see Miria survive hard, and realize that, you know what, she can only depend on herself. Not in an abandoned way, but in a, I do have some power in me. I can make things happen. And it'll be interesting to see, you know, how far does that go? What does she want? Because if she asks Marcia what it's like making her own choices, Marcia decided to marry Lucas Greenmont. It's a fucking nightmare. She might as well have just done whatever her mother told her to do. And, you know, like, being in power and being responsible really sucks. But I think, like, Miria needs to discover that and figure out what she wants, because that's been her whole operation with Daemon, and the whole thing that Daemon's been tempting her with is you can make these decisions, you can do things. And Miria has a lot of power, I think, within her. And I think it would be really interesting to see her stand on her own 2 feet and be like, you know what? He didn't come back. I have to decide. I have to figure out what I'm doing. You know, I want Daemon and Miria to run away.
Yes.
I want them to go to Essos, and I want them to go have a kick-ass adventure. And her to come back and she's, you know, her own little Daenerys with her own little army, doing whatever she wants to do, kind of thing. And I think that's where we see the most interesting Miria power development, is if she's on her own. Yeah.
I was thinking, though, if Oliver does die, God forbid, in the mountains.
I didn't say die.
Oh, it doesn't come back.
I didn't suggest that.
I mean, come on. If he's gonna go anywhere, it's gonna be to the long good night. But it would be interesting to see where she goes from there, because she's got a couple of avenues. One being with the bastard gambit, she could just be like, look, both people who could say I'm not are both dead, so I am. I'm an Ironwood, suck it. You know, she could just say, fuck Greenmont, fuck it all, I'm done. Or she, you know, there's anything she could do. But yeah, I would like to kind of see her on her own 2 feet too, because she has kind of been going from person to person, clinging to them. And it would be like her growing up moment. I mean, I want Oliver to come back, because Oliver and Miria together are so fucking sweet, and it makes my heart, like, you know, hurt. But
agree. And also Ironwood Bowl 2.0.
Right, we gotta have it. So Don, how you feeling about this whole Ironwood situation?
I think it's awesome. I think everything that is happening, it's all going according to plan. I think I think Oliver's he's a very flexible tactician. And so there's a lot of different possibilities for how everything can go down. But I do think we're getting at a point where the amount of flexibility that he's had so far is about to go away. Because, you know, you get to the point where, like, when we're toying at rebellion, or we're toying at civil war, or we're toying at getting married, or we're kind of like positioning ourselves in different places. But at some point, all the characters in Game of Thrones take that one step that defines the downward slope of their arc. And I think all of the characters in our campaign are right there where they're about to take that step that's going to define their downward arc. And I'm excited for that for everybody's character, Oliver included. So how do I feel about it? I think Ironwood's in great shape. I think Miri's doing a great job down there. Horatio ain't shit. And I hope Maker trips over Vulture's roost on his way home. He's like, oh, how'd this get here? Oh, hey.
Ooh. Oh, no, please don't, because I know Oliver's going to do something fucking dumb. John, you literally said if you were there at Fox Hollow and Maekar showed up, you'd have stabbed him. So don't even tell me that Oliver wouldn't do something dumb if Maekar showed up at Vulture's roost. I
really need to send a Raven. He needs to send a Raven to his old friend Bittersteel now that he has enough money to hire his entire army.
Dear Aegon, how's it been, man?
Sup, boo? Been a while.
Been a while. How are you keeping?
Falling into a lot of money and I can't spend it on anything.
Do you have an army
PS.
by chance?
Do you have it? Yeah. How close are you? Are you within a couple of days ride? Because he is actually like. Tyrosh is actually pretty close to the port in Ironwood. Like, you know, it's not too far.
So I have a question for you, Don, because I don't think we actually even clarified in our private chat about the plan B. Was that something Miri and Oliver had talked about, or is that just something when Oliver gets home he's gonna be like, I have a oh fuck, hello, you know?
No, I like to think that it's, I don't know. I'm open-minded because I don't think we did. Maybe we didn't clarify, but I always imagine that they had discussed strategies during the trip to Ironwood. You know, like, here's what you can expect my family.
Need to be my daughter. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
I think they would just be like, all right, I mean, I basically am anyway, so what the...
Because I don't think he would have wanted to send her, because he didn't know what that situation was going to be. It was a lot more, in most ways, it was more amiable than he expected. But I think that plans would have probably been made before they arrived.
Yeah, I feel like maybe a contingency plan that they had cooked up. Oh, good. So yeah, all right. So if you do come back, we'll have a code word.
It's watermelon.
She'd just be like, Father, have some watermelon. You'd be like, oh, okay, right. That's what
That's our code word for Horatio's back. I'm your bastard child. Your mom's in on it. It's a very specific code word.
A lot is conveyed with one word. All right. So AU Maria plays Dream Daddy. Okay, so we've just got a little bit of time left, so we'll take some questions from chat. If you guys just want to do like a general sort of roundup of your thoughts for this episode whilst we're doing that, I'm gonna go pee, so I'll be back in a sec.
Who first, though?
Yeah, you go first, Charlie. You go first.
No, you go first.
You go
on.
No, go first.
No, you go first.
Oh, you.
So, Sam.
Yeah.
We have Peak, Tarly, Oakhart, and Greenmont units traveling to Vulture's Roost.
Yeah.
Last thing we knew about Vulture's Roost was Blackmont remained there with the Vultures. That's the last thing we knew. We know that we have Oliver Ironwood on his way with men in Ironwood colors. We know that Peak saw Horatio at the tournament riding in Ironwood colors. We know that Peak knows that Horatio is in charge of Ironwood's men. Well, we also know that Peak and Oliver have a history. They work together. But when you see a standard coming over the hill, who do you associate with that standard? Do you associate the person that you know has been running around being buddy-buddy with the Martells, head of the house? Or do you think it's the exiled brother that you have a really good working relationship with and would be really great and helpful in Blackfyre 2 Electric Boogaloo?
Right?
Right?
Although Horatio Ironwood, he did fight on the side of Blackfyre, right? Like he was a major. I mean, he wasn't part of the Black, like he wasn't a Kingsguard directly for him, but he led the Ironwood armies during the Blackfyre rebellions for Blackfyre, right?
Yeah.
I have this other thing of Maria sent a letter to Blackmont. Blackmont's family must be like, what the fuck is even going on? What is even happening? What? The Blackmont army, we know, did eventually come out when the Vultures were attacking with the Greenmonts. Eventually, 6 years later, when everything was already done, because of course they did. I am having visions of like the 5 armies. Just from every point, there are different people there with different motivations. And just Vultures roost in the center, this haggard, destroyed tower, and everyone's like, why the fuck are we here? And they're like, don't care, here for a fight. Because we know the Tarleys, the Peaks, the Greenmonts, they just want to fight someone now. They're riled up. They've had miserable weeks at Fox Hollow. They started fighting with each other. They just want someone to fight with at this point, is how I'm imagining their morale is. And then we've got the Vultures who are like, this is our roost, what the fuck? And then we got Ironwood coming in, and maybe, I don't know if Blackmont will or not, but it's going to be a mess, right? If everyone does arrive at the same time, if people arrive at different times, it could be even worse. We end up with like people just plowing in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
100% going to be a battle of the 5 armies.
Okay, so my question is, because I know you can't tell us how it's going to go, but how as a GM are you preparing for a battle this big? Because this is the thing about Song of Ice and Fire systems, is we have like the different levels. We have, you know, zoomed out mega battle, we have leading battalions or leading units, and then we have the individual fighters. Like, how are you thinking about preparing? Because we know there's going to be a fight. It's going to happen between someone.
Lots of dice rolling. So I still have to figure it out, but Thursday's session is going to be like, it's going to be like one of those blockbuster fight episodes, one of the battle episodes from Game of Thrones, I think. So everyone needs to scrub up on their warfare rules. Although I'm not going to use them. They're almost wargamey in their writing. So it's all very like movement distances and, you know, multiply that by 4 and this, that, and the other. So I'm just going to basically, there's a lot of warfare tests to try and make your units do stuff for you. I'm going to do it a bit more narratively than that, a lot like we've done combat before. So basically, I've still got to figure this out, but I know for sure that Virginia is going to be heading up and command in Alistair's, in the meta of Alistair's stead for the joint forces of Pete, Greenmont, Tarley, and Oakhart. And I've kind of, like you say, I've pulled out a little bit. So instead of going in unit by unit and her having to make like 6 different tests, try and do 6 different things and this kind of stuff. A bit like X-Wing, I'm going to do a little bit. So everyone just kind of goes at the same time, secretly figures out what the next thing they're going to do. And I trust you all. So like one at a time, we'll just say how we're figuring it out. But also because of the makeup of the units and how much Tarley and Peak and Oakhart and Greenmont have all clubbed together, they've got a sizable army of them. So basically I'm going to say to V, like, okay, so you've got your Vanguard, who are either, if you're in a column, the Vanguard's at the front. Or if you're in a battle formation line, then they're on the right-hand side, they're on the right flank. So you've got your Vanguard, you've got your middle, and then you've got your rear, which is either on the back or behind you or on the left. So like, we'll allocate some units to each of those. And then you just say like, okay, I want the Vanguard to go do this. I want the middle to go do this. And I want the left to go do this. And then we'll try and make that happen. Like, we'll see how it all kind of goes together. So if the vultures decide to attack the vanguard, but the Virginia's left flank comes in, then they've kind of outflanked themselves, kind of been hit like that, So we'll just try and do it all at the same time.
So it's almost kind of like, I guess, how we did the joust, where you decide your writing style, which will alter things, and then you take your action roll.
Yeah. And then that happens roughly simultaneously.
Yeah, and I'll award some bonus dice and stuff to people depending. But there are also some pretty cool maneuvers you can try and do from the warfare rules. So I'm open as well to people taking a look at some of those and just going, yeah, these guys are going to charge. They're going to run at them and go at it. And I'll give them more damage, but I'll drop a die on it or something, So we can play around with that kind of stuff. But I'm going to do it much more narratively because I want it to be a bit more cinematic rather than a war game where we're tracking every single little thing.
Get the rulers out.
Yeah.
Do you think, Sam, that, not to spoil anything, but do you think that there will be opportunities for that in Game of Thrones battles? You have the big massive shots with thousands of people just dying on top of each other, and then you zoom in to
Tyrion and
right,
yeah. That's what I want to try and do. So we're going to have to try and get a lot into next session, because I also, as a nice juxtaposition to that, I want to still have Simon's intrigue stuff going on. I think we've also got to figure out as a group who of us are all there. Because so Don, I know you're absolutely there because you're leading the only Ironwood unit that's going to be on the board.
There's two, right?
Have you brought both?
I brought the sandworms and I brought the knights.
Oh shit, you did. Okay, I could have to add them now. Brilliant. Okay.
And I have a plan, so I'll send that plan to you.
Okay, that's cool.
It's not going to go as planned, but I'll send it to you.
I'm gonna write sandworms because I forgot. Who was I? Yeah, but maybe because in the rules is written as well, you have commanders who all they can do is give the units orders. But you have sub-commanders as well, which basically give them extra orders, so they don't do anything themselves. But you can also have heroes that go off and do their own thing. And you're meant to resolve it by doing 5 rounds of combat, and then you do the orders and all that stuff with the army. And then you do another phase of 5 more rounds of combat at the personal scale, and it just gets super crunchy. So I'm going to take the spirit of that, I think, and just be a bit if there's some heroic stuff, if it comes up to that point in story led, then I'll zoom in. But again, I don't really know, but that's part of the excitement. So we'll find out who gets, if Sir Oliver gets separated a little bit and
they have a hug. Yep.
And
big old hug.
And then they kiss.
And then they go back to back and they start just hacking and slashing. Okay, I had another one where it's Tali, Peek, and that they're ready for a fight. You don't give vultures time to rouse, and they go running in, and then over the hill, Gandalf with that other army coming in, just descends on Helm's Deep.
Oh, rip! I'm sorry, stream. You didn't hear a single word of what I just said.
Quick reenactment.
I just said that I wanted Oliver and Gorman to meet on the field and smooch, and then fight back to back, because that's basically marriage. Anyway.
Gormy and Ollie.
Gormy and Ollie.
I can ship that. I
can't. Peak is terrible. Oliver could do better.
Ollymund Peakwood. Peakwood. There it is.
Peakwood.
Peakwood.
No.
I don't see anything wrong with that. What?
Yeah, I think that, because I do think this is a cool thing about the system is, while it does occasionally descend into crunch madness, it caters for a lot of different elements in gameplay, and it does cater for big battles, to personal battles, to social intrigues and stuff. So I'm very excited because we haven't had a really big battle yet. We had Alfred's showdown. I think that was the biggest battle we've had, and then next that is kind of, I guess, the joust would be the next combat complication that we did. So very excited.
Yeah, so that's a little taster of what we're going to get next week. But we did get a few questions in chat, and make sure to keep them coming if and when they do come up. But the first of all is, who do you think is most fucked after this week?
Marcia, next question.
Marcia. Well, okay. I think Miria is about to have a lot of complication in her life and is walking a very dangerous tightrope. I think Marcia is in the biggest decline right now and is only going to face a couple of difficult things, but mostly like that house is fucking shut down. There's one Greenmont left inside it, and there's Marcia and the Hollow Hearts and the Green Garrison. That's all that is left. We have no people. We have...
And just softly ignore Simon. Just don't look. Just look away.
I've sent a note, so we'll find out what happens with that, basically.
I honestly think Miria. I know Marcia, like you said, has a massive decline, but I don't think she's like in any immediate danger into her life.
She would be in more danger if there was a viable person to take over that house around.
Yeah. I think I don't think there's anyone trying to take over the house or kill her or anything. Her political reputation has just took a nosedive, which is almost as bad for Marcia than dying itself. But I think Miria, I think she's in an unknown place with an incredibly dangerous and ambitious brother. And again, Maekar is looking for you. He is looking and he's determined to get you back. I honestly believe you are the most fucked out of all of us.
Yeah, I mean, like an immediate sort of sense of a ton of bricks dropping on her. Like Marcia in the long run's fucked. Marcia's done. She's done. I'm sorry, Charlie, I love you, but Marcia's done. Unless she pulls something out of her ass that's miraculous. Miria is immediately, she's stood under the wrecking ball as the chain's about to snap, right? Because, again, Horatio, Maekar's actively looking for her, and the name Ironwood came up many times in this conversation with Maekar. And if Maekar goes to Vulture's Roost, doesn't find her there, he's going to be like, okay, where are the places? Ironwood, okay, bam. So I think Miria is in a lot of trouble. Simon also, I feel like, is in a lot of trouble. He is unhinged, alone, with no allies in Highgarden, and he's pissed off a lot of people. And a lot of people that he's pissed off have gone very quiet recently, which is bad. You don't want your enemies to be quiet because you need to keep an eye on them. You haven't seen Desmera in a long time. Where's she been? What's she doing?
Maybe visiting Lady Sana. Who knows?
The most heartbreaking thing about Simon, I feel that all he needs is one ally. Just one. And I think he would be okay.
And he could have had one in Lady Rowan.
He struggles to ask people for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what a surprise.
Unless it's family, but then they left, so
Yeah, which didn't do him many favors.
So yeah, I think we're all fucked, just in varying stages and immediacy of fuckedness.
I think Horatio is more dangerous to you than Maekar is.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh god,
and that's not purely because of proximity. I think Horatio has that spiteful strain to him. We know that he does act rashly, but he's cleverly mean as well. And you are that little mouse that just walked into a den of cats. You are just right there. And I think announcing yourself as a bastard is even worse than being who you are.
Most likely.
I wouldn't be surprised if Horatio tried to manipulate and whisper into the parents' ears, we don't want a bastard in this family. What shame would that put on our family? Get rid of her. No one needs to know. No one needs to know.
I think he wants to keep hold of her until Oliver comes home.
Yeah. He wants to use Miria to get to Oliver, is what I'm thinking.
Because he knows that Oliver just tried to send him to the wall, and Oliver knows that Horatio tried to murder him at the end of that fight. So
I feel like as well with Miria declaring herself this bastard of Oliver as well, like he is like, oh, she's close to him. Angle. So
and Horatio gets to be the posturing victor. I married a Martell. This is my house. I have your bastard hanging out. This is a great time, Oliver. Go away.
He'll be all smiles, honestly. Like if Oliver makes it back, Oliver makes it back, Horatio's going to be like, brother, I've been having the most wonderful time getting to know your daughter. You know, he's gonna.
Oliver doesn't know that Horatio is not at the wall.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know that Horatio got married. He has no reason to believe that if a man at a joust, a noble wedding, tried to murder another knight of the Seven Kingdoms, was found guilty for that, and was sent to the wall, there's no reason that he would still even be an influence at Castle Ironwood. And his mother didn't say anything about Horatio. His father didn't say anything about Horatio. So I think Oliver would be very surprised in that situation.
Especially since Leo Tyrell was presiding over that joust and he declared you the winner. Like, that was the Marcher Lord, not the Marcher Lord, you know, the Regent of the Reach, whoever, saying legit, and we all saw what happened.
Yeah, and the healer proclaimed poisoning, which is totally illegal to do to somebody, you know.
Yeah.
And so, like, at the very least, the idea that not only would he somehow weasel his way out of the wall, but also the Martells would marry him after he is a known poisoner at court, that would be difficult to reconcile for Oliver.
Oh, the political class getting away with blatant illegalities.
He just, it might be a soft spot for him.
I feel there's a metaphor somewhere. I don't know exactly what's going on. I don't know.
Just let me look outside of my window. Country's still on fire.
Yeah, there we go.
Let me just see. Oh, same here.
Yeah. It's gonna be bad. So next question: what allies are available to House Greenmont right now?
This is a really good question.
This is a good question.
Marcia's disposition says no to Peak and Tarly. Marcia at this point would probably attempt to kill Peak and Blackmont on sight. So Blackmont's also off the table.
Yeah,
like delicious. Genuinely at that range in the mechanics. She blames these people for terrible things. So they are off the table. Marcia is also anti-war, so also very off the table. Which really sucks because one of my goals was to make some allies, and that's off the table. I would hope that she would have opportunities to go down to Highgarden because there are still a lot of people there that she could still make friends with. She still has access to that mine and to that blacksmith that makes very good weapons. So that is something that we still have going for us. Additionally, she is still allied with Crane. It's not a very influential house, but it's there. They're involved at Highgarden. Okay, we know she doesn't get on with her mother, and her mother now knows that, but Marcia doesn't know that. And, there's still that angle there. I think, really, we need someone new to come in to be an ally at this point, because the Peak Tarly thing that's wrung out, that's done. Blackmont's never going to happen. Ironwood, we know, in Oliver's form, is an ally currently. The politics is so complicated right now. I have no idea how that's going to play out in actuality. I believe Oliver would stick to his promise, as would Marcia. But whether it turns out that is in their interests or the interests of the houses, which is why they made that promise in the first place, would be the question mark over that.
I have a question about that. So what do you think? Because I think we know that Marcia and Oliver are pretty honest people. Like, they try to stick to their word when they can. What do you think would happen if the marriage of those two houses had this sort of stipulation of, oh, actually, no, Peak and Tarly and Oakheart and all of these other fellas, they are our allies? Because I think that's politically where they're going to disagree.
The agreement that they were her parents' God's parents. That was done. And I think also Marcia's agreement to Oliver was, I will help you get your house back. And you will help me keep the Greenmont house going. That was their agreement between each other. And we'll get married and respect each other. I think Marcia would never allow Peak to cross her threshold ever again. And I I think they would. They would just have to have that honest conversation of, look, I do not support your war. That's where she is. But the problem with it is Oliver is still the ex-leader of Greenmont armies. And Oliver can still turn around and say, you know who I am? We're going. And what can Marcia do? Marcia, I believe, is fully entombed at Fox Hollow. If she ever leaves, something truly cataclysmic has happened. She should have just gone to Red Lake with her grandmother.
I'm saying maybe Marcia should shop around for another husband, maybe.
I mean, it's a possibility. And, well, who knows? If Edmund dies, who's in charge of House Blackmont, you know? Like, there could be somebody better.
I had low-key hoped that there would be some sort of wiggle on taking Marcia as a regent to Summerhall, because I was like, I get to meet new people. But no, I'm stuck at Fox Hollow with the one Greenmont left, who's a tiny baby.
So your conversation's a fucking baby now. Poor Marcia.
Yeah.
Where is Sir Babblebrook? That's still an ally.
He's in the fucking mountains.
Oh shit, that's right.
He's not coming home. Because you know why? Marcia is cursed. He's dead. Babblebrook's not coming home.
I have fresh theories about curses, but I won't discuss that right now.
He's gone. He's done. Don't get attached to Babblebrook. He's done.
But yeah, I think Marcia thinks of Oliver as family. He is included in that bubble with Mara and Miria, where she will do things for them that she wouldn't do for anyone else. The only reason Greenmont men still went, which I think is Marcia's only mistake, and the only mistake that I maybe should have made a different decision on, the only reason they are still out there is because Marcia was supporting Mara, who was supporting Alistair. She should have just kept the Greenmont men home, because then when Maekar showed up, we're not in it. But because she was supporting Mara, and because she was standing by that decision to do that, despite her gut saying don't do that, they were gone. They were not there. They're out, and we're involved still.
So basically, you supported a sister who was, daughter really, who was supporting her husband who just wanted to play swords.
Yeah. And that's the terrible truth of it.
Yeah.
Not for some great cause or anything like that. Oof. So basically, in summary,
why I'm a tiny bit mad at Mara, because some of this is so her fault.
It totally is. 100%. It totally is. Yeah. She has to share the blame.
Do you know what? Do you know why I'm mad at Mara? Because she's acting like a Greenmont man, and not a Greenmont woman, and it's infuriating. I love Mara. I love V, but fuck, come on. Stop being such a man.
And that leads me to my theory for next week, that I think Alistair is in big trouble next week, because I think there are consequences to decisions, and I think Mara's put him in danger by not stopping him. And I think it's a beautiful Game of Thrones thing if she gets him killed, because also her mother-in-law is coming for her.
Oh my god, though, especially, oh man, it would be peak Game of Thrones if Alistair's killed on the battlefield, and before he goes they do like one last baby roll and bam, she's preggo. That would suck. It would be so Thronesy.
You've been reading my notes.
No. I just know that Virginia's constantly like, hey Sam, baby roll, baby roll.
But also, like, I think if anyone were to die, not that I want Mara to die at all, I think it'd be really interesting if she did, because she's become so removed from the house in a lot of ways, but I think her loss would still have this ripple effect, and it would be, and Marcia would be like, I sent those men to support her, I wanted her to be alive. This is the opposite of that. This is a terrible thing, and this is another lost connection. And also I'm terrified about what V might bring in as a backup character, but I think, like, we're due a death. This is just the fact. We're playing Game of Thrones.
I mean, we're on episode 6 next week. There's gotta be a death soon.
Alfred shouldn't have maybe
messed
died.
Up.
I think it's
with
5,
that whole
actually.
thing, but we've gotten through this really well, really unscathed. Like, I'm lucky one of those babies isn't dead. We're lucky about a lot of things, and I think the death is coming.
Yeah. So in summary, we have no allies. We fucked. Next question. Where would Simon go if he had to leave Highgarden?
Nearest Weirwood, just so he could set up shop as a hedge wizard.
Good
We
answer.
know Weirwood. It's very nice.
I like that. I think that's cool.
Yeah,
Simon is a hedge wizard. That's so cool.
Yeah, just really just Either
And-
that or go to King's Landing and hop on the nearest ship to Bravos and just hope that they value intellectualism as much
you
as
know
the
what?
stories say.
If Simon did that, I think maybe for the first time in a long time, he would be happy. That's the saddest part about it.
See, I don't. I think he would be in for a huge shock
No,
because,
yeah.
as we've said a few times, Simon's got a lot of privilege over here. Like the
And
fact that he's still allowed to wander around Highgarden, and even though he has fucking nothing, he is a no one. I think if he like went to Bravos, he'd have to live on the streets.
Oh no, I thought I was more about the simple
hedge
of the
wizard.
hedge wizard.
Oh yeah.
It's
Okay.
like a
Even
nice,
that, I think he
simple-
would be miserable. He would be missing a lot of things.
I
I think
think
he could
he'll
learn to like it.
Yeah.
But I also think he'd be that guy, like, they'd go to him for their fortunes or whatever, and he'd be like, this is your fortune. And they'd be like, well, how do I trust this? How do I trust you? And he's like, because I'm the expert that you paid. And it would just unleash the Simon rage and be like, don't you know who I am? No, I don't know who I am either. And it would be like this terrible breakdown.
Feedback loop, yeah.
Yeah. Groat, please.
Two groats.
Two girls will tell you what's going to happen, and you're going to get fucked just real hard.
4 groats, the world's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the last question we have here. Miria versus Simon, who would win?
Miria.
Currently Miria, because she actually has allies.
Because she would actually use the poison rather than pouring it on the floor.
Well, I don't know. I think Simon would use the poison given half the chance. But I generally, at this present moment, Miria actually has allies.
I think
and-
even one-on-one Miria would win. Miria has much more self-preservation and much more strike out instinct. Simon is run. He dumps the bomb and he runs. And I think Miria would win.
Fair enough.
I think if Simon knew Miria was coming,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that situation could change. But just one-on-one, face-to-face, Miria every time.
Yeah, I mean,
There's no shame in that. I think Miria would win up against everyone save Alfred and Oliver.
well, even okay, Oliver.
I don't know. I think she could get
Yeah.
Oliver
Yeah,
because he wouldn't see
Getting
it coming.
close. Getting close. Oliver, I love you. Like, shit.
Yeah, he wouldn't
Yeah.
see it coming. That's how she'd get him.
I think that would go down like she'd shank him and he'd be like, how could you do this to me? It's terrible.
It'd be terrible. She'd be crying, he'd be crying and dying. It'd be awful if she had to kill Oliver. Can you
I do
imagine?
not die of my wounds, Miria.
Oh
Die
no!
of my broken heart.
No!
yeah.
This is what it's like on a call with Charlie, by the way, at 3 o'clock in the morning. I get these hypothetical
lady.
Olivers at me.
He's very good Olivers.
I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think Miria would win purely because of what we've seen so far. She's just better at maintaining allies. No, she is.
Very
You
true.
know,
No,
she's
I
managed
know.
to
It's
build
not a
and
dump, but
maintain
it's like-
relationships. And
Yeah.
if you're trying to take someone out, and she's like, she gets a piece of information and she holds it and she uses it when it's like more appropriate. But we've seen Simon is a guy who's like, information, use it straight away. So I could see Simon maybe going for like a straight out the gate attack.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it wouldn't be as successful.
Yeah.
I think Maria's got the cunning to like get him.
I think that there would be a good showing for Simon
Mhm.
in terms
yeah.
of in terms of his ability to be that fiery orator that doesn't really say much or do much, but chips are down. I think,
I think the closest fight in the family, actually thinking about it, would be Mara versus Miria. You were both terrifying on multiple levels, and I believe you would both go there. And I was just actually thinking about the whole Mara thing, and if she does turn out to be pregnant, what an interesting mirror that is to Marcia, because it's the exact same position. They're just two different women.
Yeah. I know we've joked about Clash of Kids a lot. It's something we talked about a lot, but yeah, I feel like this episode we took a big old step towards it. I feel like there was a big old like long jump towards Clash of Kids. But yeah, I think the one foe I would be so scared of meeting on the field would be Mara, because it would be that really awkward parlay where there's these both unstoppable women, both really strong, you know, very driven women, and neither's gonna back down, and it'll just be like, what if they both got up their sleeves? And I feel like it ended mutually assured destruction. You know, they're
Like,
just
yeah. The smart things keep you fighting, not let you two ally, because that would be it. That would be game fucking over.
So yeah, unless we've got any more questions or anything else anybody would like to say before we sign off for the night.
I think Marzia needs a friend, like, really badly. Because I think at this point she's very close to just burning down Fox Hollow herself. Just, there's nothing here anymore. And the house in general, just looking at the state of the house, our law could do with going up. We need population really badly. Just on that mechanical level, the house needs some time to recuperate some things. Because there's very little left of the house at present. Although if one of the members of the house dies, I might get some points back that we can spend on things.
You mean children?
Or you use that influence invested. Just saying.
We don't have a lot of it left, actually, either.
No.
It's bad.
And you can still use it in intrigues. We forget.
Mm.
You can give yourself some bonus points for spending influence.
Sam, were you going to say anything there?
Yeah. So session 5 is going to be called, this is our big battle session, the Swirling Kettle.
Oh, good.
And the session after that is going to be called A Message for the King. And it is going to be an Ocean's 11 style troop play with Alfred, where I want everyone who's into it to roll up their own new player characters for the Ragtag Bunch Suicide Squad that's going to get Lord what's his face, Lord Aaron's body into King's Landing.
Dibs on Captain Boomerang.
All right.
This was the first one I could fucking think of. Who even knows who the Suicide Squad are?
I don't know who that is.
Well, I think there was a cast list that was released very recently. So
there was, yeah. Quite a few big names in there as well.
Peter Capaldi and
I know,
Idris
right?
Elba. I was like, what the fuck?
Capaldi's going to be a bad guy. He's going to be.
I hope he's Mr. Freeze. I really do.
All right, this is not a Suicide Squad cast. Thanks,
oh,
boys.
sorry.
I have actually a quick question for Don, because I'm always super curious, because I know how closely Don watches and schemes. Do you have any like predictions for like the next 2 episodes? Any tinfoil predictions?
I do. I do have predictions, but I feel like if I say them, they won't come true. So
it's that whole like, if you make a wish over a birthday cake,
That's
you can't
right.
tell anyone.
Go on.
Yeah. No, I think things are either going to get better or worse, and I think, but like by large degrees over the next 2 sessions.
Okay.
I think they're either going to get much worse or much better, and I don't know. And I don't want to say anything. I can talk to you in private later.
You know what my DMs are.
Yeah.
Slide into my DMs with your tinfoil.
I mean, that's just what everyone's DMs are for in this group, right? That's what we do.
Fair.
All right then, that is it from us for this 1 week. Sharp rocks, high stakes, peak wood. There we go, Amberlyn. Looking forward to see where we take this. That's it. That's all I've got to do at Ironwood and I'll be safe. Get me a stabbing rock. I don't have an Ironwood stabbing rock. All right. We are out for another week, but thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure to head on over to twitch.tv/RPGWebby for the very next episode, The Swirling Kettle, on Thursday at 8 p.m. BST, just 3 p.m. EDT. Get your butts there. We'll see you in chat. And pray to the old gods and the new that everybody makes it out alive, because, oh boy, it's going to be a juicy one. But until next time, we'll see you all later. Bye-bye.